right. I think everything works. Oh my gosh. You ever have one of those where just nothing works? You're like getting ready for a presentation or something and nothing works. That was yesterday for me, so that's why I didn't stream yesterday. But today we're okay. Today my Mac woke up on the right side of the bed, and we're good. We're good. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. SQL Dev DBA here, and today we're just going to take it easy with a cool data set that I found during the week on Reddit. So I recently released a video on YouTube that was essentially how a couple websites. Morse314 says, good morning, sir. Morse314, I hope you're doing very well. I hope you are having a good weekend so far. Thanks for being here. It's great to see you. I recently released a video on YouTube, and it was essentially the top 5, or my top 5, I guess, websites to practice SQL with data sets that were sort of related to data people. And the last 2 were, spoiler alert, the last 2 were actually just full-blown databases, right? So you don't have to go to any websites, or you can go to the websites and all the databases are contained there, but you're not sort of restrained or constrained to using data sets that are already provided for you. You can just build your own data sets and use those for practice instead. And speaking of data sets that you can just build, sometimes the best data set can be one that you build on your own, based on your own interests. And that's sort of what we're exploring today. Today, we're looking at a data set that someone just made in Google Sheets. And it's an interesting topic because it's a topic that people wonder, I'm sure, all the time when they visit Disney. But very few people have actually collected the data. So what this data set is someone rode Star Tours, the ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which is about, I want to say, about 10 miles that way. I'm pointing to Disney right now, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 10 miles that way. And they rode it from, I guess, park opening till about 6 p.m., 8 p.m. I don't remember which one. We'll take a look at it now when we see the post. And they collected data. They just said, here's my experience, here's my wait times, here is where the ship started, where the ship ended. For those who don't know much about Star Tours or aren't familiar with the ride, it's a simulator that I've been going on since I was a kid. But basically, it's meant to simulate people going on a shuttle from one place to another, and then that shuttle gets intercepted by the events that unfold in the Star Wars movies. So it's very cool. I can't ride it with the full experience anymore. I used to be able to, but now because I have vertigo all the time, I can't use the 3D glasses. So I can just see the screen, but I can't use the 3D glasses with it because I'll get vertigo and then I'll be useless for like 3 days. So yeah, for me, it's a different experience now than when I was a kid, but it's still a lot of fun. My daughter likes it. It's one of the few rides that she'll actually go on, which is, we definitely want that. And yeah, I get to see sort of the experience that someone else had who is very dedicated and was able to ride it so many times. You'll see how many trips they have. It's definitely more than 20. If it's not apparent, I haven't really looked at the data set too much. I just looked at it and skimmed over it just to make sure that it had what I needed. But my goal here with these presentations, if you will, is to always come brand new to the data, right? To not look at the data extensively so that I can discover the data along with you. So the data is just as new to me as it will be to you, but it is enough for us to make SQL questions, Power BI questions, all sorts of stuff. So I did do one little test just to make sure I could use a specific graphic, so I'm excited to be able to use that. And our goal here is to give the person who collected the data set back a report, a Power BI report that they can then use to sort of review their data collection back. So let's get to it. First, we're going to take a look at do a quick tech check of all of my, well, not all of them, but the keyboard and mouse that I'm using today. More so for thank you for tagging the data set. I'm going to go ahead and share the link in a second as well. So you can just go straight to the Reddit post and get the data set yourself as well. It's on a Google Sheet. So let me actually do that quickly right now while I do my tech check so that you can get in there if you really want to. Let's see. I'm going to copy this and hope that it pastes well into Safari here. There we go. Yes. Okay. That is the post made by Wave SEI. So huge shout out to Wave SEI for providing the data for this this, what you want to call it, episode, this stream. It's a very interesting one. It's very well organized in Google Sheets. We of course are going to extract that, download it to a CSV, then upload it to SQL Server, which is an optional step. But because of my latest video, it doesn't have to be an optional step anymore. You don't need to install SQL Server. You don't need to install Oracle or MySQL or whatever platform you like. You can just use Azure SQL. There's a link. Am I pointing to the right place? Right there. Right there, there's a link where you can just download it, or actually just download Azure Data Studio or something like that that allows you to program with SQL Server, but you don't have to install a database anymore. It just runs in the cloud. It's completely free. Go do it. Go do it. It's good for your resume. Go do it. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at that. But first, let's take a look at the keyboard and mouse that we're using. It's been a while. It's been a while since I streamed, so I'm almost forgetting how to do this stuff. But that is a KZZI. I don't know how to. I keep watching the YouTube channel, hoping one day they'll teach me how to pronounce it. But for now, KZZI K75 Lite. I think they came out with a brand new one that I'm sort of hoping to get, but I'm just waiting until like there's some discounts on it or it goes on sale until I get the second version of it. This LoFree Touch mouse, super comfortable, super interesting looking because it looks like a mechanical keyboard, and I enjoy that because I like mechanical keyboards. And that's it. Let's get started. I kept it short. This time because I just want to dive into the data. So let's dive into the data set. As I mentioned, I did put a link to the data set. It's also in the description if anyone is ever watching on YouTube, the live stream on YouTube. In the description, you should see a link to the data set there as well, or at least a Reddit post that has a link to the data set. I wanted to give as much credit as I could to Wave SEI, so huge shout out and thank you to Wave SEI again for providing this data. And it'll also be in the description when YouTube saves this video. It'll be in the description there, so you're welcome to head on in. If you want to create statements for like SQL Server or the CSV, I will upload that to my Google Drive as well, and that will be available in the description of the video once I have it too. So it's very possible by the time you see this, you will all have the CSV, the Reddit post, and the insert statements for Azure SQL. All right, let's get to it. All right, so here we are in my PC, and it's working well so far. The only, restriction I guess you would have is that only PC is supported by Power BI, right? So if you want to get all the way to the SQL Server portion of this, where we're going to come up with some cool SQL interview questions about the data, then of course you can follow along with any tool. If you are on a Mac only, You won't be able to use Power BI, at least not to its full potential, but you can use Tableau or something like that. That's definitely something that is absolutely possible with this data set too. So here's the Reddit post. The title is I rode Star Tours at Disney's Hollywood Studios 35.5 times in one day. That 35.5 is a really interesting one too. It implies that it broke down or something. That's probably what happened, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't taken a look at the data enough to know that. They said they had a few breaks, but again, I took a look at the data set, which is very cool, right? It's very cool. It's very clean. I wonder if I can find anything about like it breaking down. Nope. Just endings. There's some visuals as well, which is pretty cool, right? Hopefully we can recreate this as well. So yeah, let's see. The one complexity I'm seeing right now is the time entered versus time off. That's gonna be a little bit of a challenge because it's usually like the time functionality or the time intelligence of Power BI isn't fantastic, so it's not going to easily recognize the number of minutes between with this format. But hopefully we can get it into a better format that will allow us to do so. And if you're interested, you can actually just connect Power BI straight to this Google Sheet and just avoid everything we're about to do. But again, here the focus on this channel is just to make sure you get a start to finish data project. You deal with the data set in its raw form. You deal with downloading it. You deal with converting it to a CSV. You deal with importing it to SQL Server or Oracle, and then ultimately to Power BI, because that's really how it is in the professional landscape. There are times where I connect directly to Google Sheets, but it's not very often at all. And again, full data projects require multiple tools, multiple sort of ecosystems, not just one. So we're getting the full spectrum here. All right. So again, full credit to Wave SCI. The channel. Let me go ahead and link the channel. Hopefully we can do that here again. There we go. There's Wave SCI's channel on YouTube. Feel free to check it out. Very interesting data set that we have here. So very excited to get going. So basically what I did is I already went over here using the file menu and just downloaded this as both an Excel and a CSV. As you can see, actually I even went as far as to download it to tab separated values. But you can download this as an Excel if you have Excel and you want to use that instead. If you want a CSV, you can, and tab separated values, which is the same exact thing as a CSV, just instead of commas, we use tabs. I don't want to use that one. I'm just going to use the CSV file just to see if we can make sure it comes out clean and we can import it into SQL Server. So let's take a quick look at that file. And we have Star Tours Sheet 1 TSV here. We also have Star Tours Sheet 1 CSV. The Sheet 1 CSV is the one I want. So let's go and let's go to my data sets folders here. So I want to make sure I can use that. So there's the Star Tours folder in my data sets. I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. And then here, what I like to do, especially on these streams where I'm sort of demoing things, is I like to create a copy of this. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly create a copy. And then this copy, I'm just going to name it Excel instead of copy. Why is that? Well, I know you all love to just double click on files, and it's very likely that your default application that you have for CSVs is Excel. And so as soon as you double click it, it's going to open in Excel, and then Excel is going to try its best to just ruin the file for you. So if it does that, then at least you have an Excel version that you don't have to worry about, and you still have this original version that you can actually use for things like SQL Server, Oracle, etc. So we're going to go ahead and open the Sheet 1, not with Excel, but with Notepad++. That is my favorite text editing tool from a programmatical perspective. And so we're going to see all of the data points that we have. And as you can see right off the bat, we just have an empty row here. So I don't really want that. And then we also have, it seems, a leading comma. So that's a bit odd because, and it's no fault to the creator of the data set. It's just that they left an empty cell right here on the side and an empty cell across the top. So that's why we have an empty row and an empty column off to the left as well. So all I have to do is just delete that first empty row like this. And then I'm just going to hold Alt and I'm going to highlight that first comma all the way down and delete it. So we are good there. So now let's make sure, oh, here's some extra commas down here, 37 and 38. And now I can bring this guy all the way up to the top and save it. And now we're okay. So now I'm just going to check the columns up at the top. Ride number is the first column, time entered, posted weight, gate, time off, terminal, primary destination, hologram, final destination, rebel spy with a question mark, and additional notes. So right off the bat, I'm not a fan of special characters when I'm working with data inside database platforms, nor am I a fan of spaces. If I must use something that denotes a space, it's usually an underscore, but I try to just use proper case or Pascal case as it's known. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this number symbol, and we're just going to use ride number, the text field. Then I'm just going to close the space between time and entered, do the same thing with posted weight, basically anywhere where there's two letters. So primary destination, hologram, final destination, rebel spy. I'm going to go ahead and change this question mark to a YN for yes, no. And you can see that these are no's here, no, no, no. And then there's some yeses, I would assume, somewhere around here. There's a yes, but the yes is with exclamation. So we just want to make sure, we don't mind that. We just want to make sure it's consistent. Whatever it is, it's consistent. I don't want yes with exclamation, and then no exclamation, that sort of thing. So it looks like we are consistent here, which is great. And additional notes, we're just going to close that space up. So now I'm going to go ahead and save it again. And this is my sort of optimized version for working with the data. I could go as far as to like change everything here to 24-hour time. So like leave these AMs as 0820 and then change these over to let's see, any PMs here. Yeah, so this would be a PM, but it's still 12. Let's see, right here, so this would be like 1629, etc. I could go as far as to do that. I think we're okay, and we can just leave it without. So we'll just try working with it this way and see how that goes. So again, this is my sort of final version of the CSV, which I'll be using, and then I'll go ahead and share this in my Google Drive when it's ready, so you'll see this in the description. Okay, so I can go ahead and close this file, or I'm going to do something really quick, which is take the top row. Okay, I'm going to take the top row's values, and then I'm going to go to our friend. You can have whatever digital friend you like. I have ChatGPT. I have Notebook LM. So let's go to ChatGPT or chat.bing.com. I have a couple friends, some smarter than others. I'll be completely honest. So I'm just gonna go ahead and log into my Bing chat. Super. And now I'm just gonna say something like, I have a data set about experiences at the Star Tours ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The fields are below. Can you give me some sample interview questions that I can use to practice SQL. And then I paste the fields like that. And then it gives me some basic SQL questions that I can use. How many total rides are recorded in the dataset? What's the average posted wait time for all rides? List all unique primary destinations visited. How many rides has a rebel spy been on board? So these are beginner, of course, and then you have intermediate questions and then advanced questions. And not only can you use these for SQL, but you can also use them for, of course, Power BI. So if you want to answer some questions in Power BI, then you can do that. And you can also do this for like, can you give me questions from the perspective of ride operations? So depending on which department, if they want to look at optimizing anything, for example, ride operations may want to look at optimizing something, then it'll give you questions from that viewpoint. So you can help that team or department with their analytics. So it is pretty cool to be able to do that, and you can absolutely do that. If you come up with any other sort of customizations, please let me know, because I'm always looking for fun and cool ways to sort of change the data up a little bit. But this should give you some pretty good questions that you can use for SQL Server practice. So speaking of SQL Server practice, that's where we're going to go right now. Is we're going to go ahead and upload this data set into SQL Server. I'm going to use my on-prem SQL Server, which is just a couple tiny computers that I have that act as servers. Again, I do have a video on YouTube that shows you how to activate and configure Azure SQL DB completely free and without any downloads or installs. You are welcome to use that. The create scripts that I'm going to have at the end are going to be usable in Azure SQL DB as well. So definitely give that a shot. Okay, so I am here in SQL Server Management Studio. I'm already connected to my server, which is called Micro PC1. And I'm just going to open up my databases. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just create a brand new database. And I'll call it, I don't know. Oh, actually, I have a theme park database. Should I just use that? I think I should. But for posterity, let's just create a theme park data, because this says theme park data test, because of course it does. And I'm using it for production, even though it's called test. Even though there's nothing production in this database. It's just my personal stuff to show you all. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and create a new database. I right-clicked on databases and created a new database, and we'll call it theme park data. I think this should be enough. The owner is going to be SA, because SA never gets fired. I can get fired, but SA can't, which is good for SA. It's job security. I'm going to go to options. And really, I try to keep this as standard as possible, except for the recovery model. The recovery model, I'm just going to switch over to simple, so that SQL Server knows that I don't need to save the transaction logs, back them up, or anything like that. Every transaction, as soon as it's done, it gets logged, and then the log gets purged as it needs to. And the log file will never grow larger than the database, because I haven't backed it up or anything like that. Other than that, just the file path. If I go back to the general path, the general tab, the file path is the only other thing that I would try to put on another drive. If you're doing this at work, for example, if you're watching this video at work, props to you for finding a way to make this educational and just have an excuse to be watching YouTube. That's pretty cool. Let me know your success rate with that. But if you're at work and you have access to another drive on the machine, I would definitely suggest putting this database on another drive. I just have the C drive on this machine. I think it does have a drive, an additional one, but I'm just going to leave it in C. And I'm going to go ahead and create the database. And of course, it couldn't create the database. Oh, okay. So there's already a database called theme park data. I must have switched the name to something else, but left the file name the same. That's a no-no. And I'm just gonna say it's called theme parks instead. Oh man, I'm just totally showing you the greatest way to do things, aren't I? Okay, so now the logical name is now theme parks and theme parks log. So I'm gonna hit OK, and that should not intervene. Okay, great. So we have theme parks as our data right now. We know it's theme park data, right? The GoBot says, ha, that is the best way to learn. Absolutely. You're welcome. Good morning. I hope you are doing well. The GoBot says good morning. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. And yes, it is absolutely the best way to learn, is to make a fool of yourself in front of however many people are watching or end up watching this video on YouTube. Some of them get great views, some of them don't. I suspect if I like clickbait this one enough with like Star Wars and Star Tours and stuff like that, it might get some watches. So, hi everyone. Don't do what I just did and rename databases without renaming files. So yeah. Let's keep going. So I'm going to right click and just refresh databases here. And now I have theme parks. I'm going to expand that, and you can see that I have my full array of different database objects, all of which are blank because there's really nothing here except for maybe some security roles. So I'm going to go ahead and expand the tables area. Here's where we're going to want the data to sit. So I'm going to right click on theme parks, and you can do this in Azure SQL DB as well. If you just connect SQL Server Management Studio to Azure SQL DB, you can still follow these same exact steps because you can use SQL Server Management Studio for it. So I'm going to right click, go to tasks, and I'm going to say import data. And now I'm going to go through this wizard like most of you do, where you just don't pay attention. You clicking next until like you get some error. No, actually, I'm going to go ahead and change my data source. I'm going to change it to a flat file source. Then I'm going to browse and go get my data set. Now, I can never remember where my data sets are. I'm pretty sure they're, there we go. Okay, starwars. And as you can see, it's completely blank. Now, why is that? It's because it's searching for text files. I'm going to switch it over to CSV, and this is my good file. The Excel file, that's trash. This one's good. So this one, I'm going to be going ahead and opening it. I'm going to open, and then I just have a couple things that I have to take care of here. First, I'm going to make sure it's not skipping any header rows and that the column names are in the first row. Then I'm going to go straight over to columns, and you can see here that we are good. We have all of our data. It looks to be in the correct place. The column names are okay. Ooh, what's that? That's not good right there. My additional notes has sort of a quote, and then it says Miss Jar Jar. But what's going on? Why is that? When we look at this, it's because it's Miss Jar Jar, comma. Also, Rei Onjaku, comma. Now what's going to happen here? It's just going to cut it off and pretend like it's in the next column, but it's really not. So all we have to do is Google Sheets actually sort of halfway took care of it for us. And it surrounded this entire text with quotes. So it thinks that because it sees a comma there, it's the next column. But Google Sheets said, well, no, when I make the CSV, I'm actually going to surround any text that has a quote that's a legitimate comma. I'm going to go ahead and just surround it in quotes. So anyone importing can just use the quote identifiers option. And what does that look like? Well, if you go back over here to SQL Server Management Studio and the import wizard, if I go back to general, I'll see something called text qualifier. I'm going to go ahead and use the double quote here. That's it. Then when I go back to columns, now I can see Miss Jar Jar, comma, paint ending, meaning that the full value is here. And really the full value is anywhere that this person who created the data set or system that created the data set has a comma, that's part of the value and not a separator of columns, it's going to now include it. So that's a great thing. Next, I'm going to go to advanced, and here in advanced, you will see that all of the columns have a data type of string with 50. I'm going to go ahead and increase to maybe 500, just because I don't want any issues or anything like that, cutting off, truncating. And one of the things that I've seen is folks, when I'm interviewing them, for example, they'll go like one by one, if they do this at all. Usually they do this on the second try because the first time it truncated. But when they do this on the second try, they'll go one by one. I sort of switch this over to 500 and then switch this over to 500. And let's say there's like 40 columns. Like, yeah, we don't have time for that. So all I have to do is go to ride number, which is the first column. Then I'll hold shift and click on additional notes. And now it highlights everything. And I just switch it all to 500. And now when I click on any individual one, there's the 500 already. So we're good to go there. Now, you may also be asking, well, some of these aren't strings, they're just times, or they're digits, integers, decimals, that sort of thing. Why are we using string for everything? Well, it's because the way I like to do it, and this goes along with the way a lot of folks do it, but when I worked for a specific company whose data is related to the data set that we're doing right now, that company's owned by a cartoon mouse, you may say. This is the way we did it, is we imported everything into just plain text as universal data type as we could. So strings or W strings, which are just nvarchar instead of varchar. Because sometimes you might have characters in other languages that are supported by standard strings. So we just mass imported everything we could into very universal data types. And then once the data was in the platform, in the SQL Server, in the Oracle database, whatever you want to import it into, that's when you can do the transformation. So here we're sort of doing extract, load, transform, or ELT instead of ETL. You may argue that this is still part of the transformation, and that when I was editing the CSV earlier, that was technically transformation as well, right? So there's a few different viewpoints, but the important part is we're going to create a staging table. This is not going to be the final version of the table. It's not even going to be the final table itself. What we want is a staging environment where we can sort of sanitize the data, decontaminate the data, and then we can load it into our permanent table. I'm talking a lot. Let me just keep going here. I'm going to click next. No data rows to skip, and then my destination is going to be SQL Server Native Client 11. You can also use OLEDB provider for SQL Server. That's fine too. That's the newer version, so it's going to be, I think the native client's going to be pushed out at some point. I don't know when. Microsoft, you know. The semicolon, for example, code without semicolon has been not supported for, I don't know. When did the Challenger go? Something like that. Okay, I'm gonna click next, and it couldn't generate SSPI context, which makes sense. I'm on a machine that's remoting into this SQL Server. I never like to log into the SQL Server itself, and you shouldn't either. Don't log into your SQL Server. Log into a machine that can access your SQL Server. I don't understand why people keep logging into their SQL servers and think that you need to. You don't need to. All right. Except deploying SSIS packages. I think that's the only like legitimate. Okay, because I tried to deploy from my own machine and it never works. But then I switch over to the machine. Anyway, I'm gonna do a super secret user here and hope that works. Then I'll go to next, and we are good to go. Now, this Star Tours Sheet 1, I'm just going to rename this to STG for staging, Star Tours. And then close that. Now I have my preview. My preview looks good. Hit close. Next. Next. Because remember I said I was just going to keep hitting next until I got an error, just like you do. I'm trying to simulate what you do every day. All right, 36 rows transferred. We got all of our data in. Let's go ahead and right click and refresh on the tables, and we have our STG Star Tours table all set and ready to go. This is again staging, so this is just to get the data into the server. Now we're going to take a look at the data, sort of sanitize it a little bit, make sure it looks good, and then we can actually start playing with it in Power BI. I like to do as much of my transformations in SQL Server or whatever the database is, transformations as far upstream as possible and as far downstream as necessary. If I can modify and transform data inside my SQL Server, my Oracle database, whatever it is I'm working with, that's less work than Power BI has to do, one. And number two, it's more secure. And number three, I can replicate all the changes that I did here. I can replicate to all my different reporting platforms. Let's say I have Tableau, and let's say I have SQL Server Reporting Services, Power BI Report Server. If I do all these transformations within the Power BI report, guess what? I can only access that data in that form in the Power BI report. Whereas if you transform it here in SQL Server, Oracle, wherever your database platform is, you can reuse those transformations, or you can't do that in Power BI unless it's with another Power BI report. So just keep that in mind. Even Crystal reports. You don't use Crystal reports. Let's be serious. Why would you use Crystal reports? It's a terrible idea. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this ride number here, but I also just want the actual integer. So let's extract that first. And I guess the way I would extract this is, oh, this is 22.5, 23.5. These are interesting identifiers. I wonder why. I wonder what the reason was. Let's take a look. Okay, time entered and time off. There's no entry time for one of these. Maybe it's just they forgot to put it in, or maybe there's just like a did it break down and were they escorted off, right? Like, or I don't know. I don't know what happened. This is an interesting one. This is an interesting one. Hopefully we can sort of understand what happened through reviewing the data. But let's say like for 22.5, they got on, or they entered, they went to a terminal or to a gate. They never got off. So they went through the terminal. They had a primary destination. They did not have a hologram. And they did not have a final destination or a rebel spy. So, interesting, right? Oh, wait, the rebel spy thing is probably was the person collecting the data, the rebel spy. For those of you who don't know how the rebel spy works, when you sit down and they're going through sort of the preview or like the start of the ride, or maybe somewhere like in the middle, they always say like, hey, we're commandeering your ship because you have a rebel spy on board. And then they sort of pan in on one of the people seated, and that person is the rebel spy. They come up on the screen, and it's, you know, pretty cool for ride interaction and stuff. If you've ever been on Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which is a show, it's like there's a That Guy segment where they just choose a random like bearded guy in the audience, and that ends up being, they always keep panning back to that guy. So we're gonna have to find out what happened here. Are these like incomplete rides or something like that? I'm not sure, but we're not gonna let this sort of impede us. Let's keep going here. So what I'm gonna do is just find the pound sign or the dollar symbol, and then I'll get everything after that, and that's gonna be my ride number. or in raw form. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to use char or char index, whatever you want to call it. And what this function does is just find the character that represents a particular value that you're looking for. So I'm going to search inside of ride number and then comma. I think this is the symbol you have to find. And I think that's it. Let's see. I think the first parameter of char index is where am I searching? And then the second one is what am I searching for? Or maybe the other way around. We'll find out. Let's just run it. Okay, so these are all zeros, meaning I got it backwards. I do that a lot. So I'm going to switch the order here and then find it. And now we can see that it's at position 6. So all of them are at position 6. What you could also do is just replace ride number with nothing, right? That's another way to do it. I like to do it this way just because it's a little bit more dynamic. But if you really wanted to, well, let's finish this version first and then we'll talk about the other one. All right, so char index. Now we get the substring. We're going to say substring of ride number. The starting position, which is where we found it, and then how many to go with. I think I can just leave it like this. No, it requires 3 arguments. So I'm just going to say the length of ride number, because that'll never error out on like an index array or something like that. What's going on here? Maybe I'll just comment this column out. Okay. Did I just not close one well enough? Yeah, probably. There we go. I think I can just close it. There we go. Okay, so now you can see number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 as an isolated column. I don't even want that. I don't want the number sign at all. So I'm just going to say +1 here. So just to be clear, the substring function says what value am I manipulating, which is ride number. I want the ride number to be sort of manipulated. Then I want to know where do I start, or it wants to know where do I start cutting it off. And I'm telling it position 6 +1 value. And then how long do I want to cut it, or how long do I want to keep adding values, or how long should the string be, I guess. And it's going to say, hey, I'm going to just grab that exact string that you have. So here is our extracted values. And normally I would say like, oh, okay, well, grab the next one string, or grab the next one character. And it would grab the 1, but then it would only grab the 2 from here and the 3 from here and nothing else. And I could also say, oh, well, give me 2. And then, okay, well, it'll grab all this and all this, but it'll not grab the decimal or anything after the decimal. And then I could also say, give me the 4 characters after the pound sign. But then this would have 4 extra characters or 3 extra characters behind it. So the best way to be dynamic, in my opinion, is just to use the length. Whatever, as long as it's the rest of the string, that's basically what you're telling it. So this is the way I would go ahead and get the ride number only, I guess we can call it. I can comment this guy out because I really don't need it, right? So I'm just going to have a comment here that says used to find pound sign or number sign. That's it. And why am I putting these comments? Well, it's because I'm going to be sharing this script with you, right? So I want to make sure that you have what you need and you have the context for what I did. So that's more or less why I'm leaving this stuff in here. Normally I would not. Okay, and then we have one more way of doing that, which is replacing ride number with nothing. So let's go ahead and do that. Replace in the ride number field or column. I want to replace ride space number with nothing as ride number only 2. Let's see how that looks. And there it is as well. So we can see it. What is that weird? It's almost like there's something underneath. Oh yeah, there's totally something underneath. There we go. Okay, so we can see it right here, ride number only 2, and it's the same exact value. It's just this might not be as consistent. Maybe there was like a ride space number or something like that. So my preferred way is this way with the substring, but you may have a different way. It's all good. Whatever gets you across the finish line. I'm gonna go ahead and comment this guy out as well because we don't need that. Okay, so now we have time entered, which is okay. Does this cast as a time is my question. Does this cast as a time? Let's find out. Can I cast this? Cast time entered as time. I don't often use the time data type, but it's not a bad one to use. Okay, you'll see here that there's a 0, 0 here because it takes an empty value. Now, what I want to do is actually take any values that are empty. Those are just going to be null. So I think it's time. I think it's time for the boring part of this. Are you already in the boring part? Maybe this is already boring to you. If that's the case, that's okay. You want to avoid looking for job titles like data engineer, ETL administrator, ETL developer. You want to jump straight over to data analyst, business intelligence analyst, that sort of stuff. Because if you go for like data engineer, ETL, that sort of stuff, this is a lot of what you're going to be doing is just cleaning up data. So that's some food for thought there. Speaking as someone who's held the positions before and now manages those positions, you're sort of stuck doing a lot of this. So let's go ahead and do that right now, which is going to be updating these values to be null. And again, we're still in staging. So I'm going to manipulate the data while it's still in staging before we get over to the final table. So how am I going to do that? I'm just going to build some simple update statements and say update the table. We'll call it ST for Star Tours. And we'll say this is as ST. We're going to set where ride number is null. We're going to set, that's not how you spell set, but we're going to set ride number equals null. Oh, where ride number equals blank. Like that. 0 rows affected, which is a good thing. Now we're going to do the same thing. So we're done with it here. We're going to do the same thing for each column. Steve-O, how is it going? I hope you are doing very well. Let's do a quick shout out to Steve-O. If you haven't checked out Steve-O's channel, please feel free to do so. Super good vibes in there. And very, very fun and entertaining. I love the conversations that Steve-O and I have both on stream and off. So hope you're doing well, Steve-O. Hope you're having a great Sunday so far. Thanks for stopping by. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do the next column. So let's take a look at our query again, right? So here's our query again, ride number only. As you can see, there's really no blank, so I don't want to waste anyone's time here. Obviously, time entered is the one that has the blank. So we're just going to go ahead and copy the logic, set time entered equals null, where time entered is empty, and we should get at least one. Steve-O says, I'm glad to see you streaming. Me too. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. I've been trying to focus on making content, making really good content that folks can get a lot out of. I'm part of a sort of initiative by a streaming and content creator expert that has been fantastic so far, and he's giving us a lot of great homework to do, great mindsets to be in, great direction. So I'm very, very happy with it, and it's been a great experience so far. So I'm trying to focus as much as I can on that, and then I'll go back to streaming or streaming more when the course is finished. So yeah, it's been really good. Okay, so here we have one row affected, and that was good. I'm gonna go ahead and leave these for you all because you all will need to do it. You all will need to do each one of these steps. So I don't want to just keep replacing stuff. I want you to be able to experience the same exact thing, or at least replicate this data set if you really want to. So you'll see here time entered is now null, which is good. Now we're going to go to posted weight. Posted weight is the next one that we are going to update to null when it's empty. Now, you may be asking, why am I doing this? Well, it's because SQL Server still considers an empty value a value. There's other database platforms like Oracle who treat an empty string value as null already. So it is null. There's no such thing as empty in Oracle. It's or at least not with the versions that I worked with. Maybe the newest, 1923 AI, that stuff have a distinction, but 10, 11, 12, etc. do not consider null and empty string different. They're just the same thing. So I want to go ahead and replicate that, and I want to make sure that Power BI or any other reporting platform that you use this data in also understands that this is a blank value. It's not an empty string. So that's why we're taking the time and doing that. Now, I don't want to keep going back and forth and querying, scrolling up or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is actually open another window here off to the side. I'm going to right click it and say new vertical tab, and I'm going to move this query all the way over here to the right. So now we can see the queries side by side. And what does that mean? Well, that means we can just focus on our update statements here on the left. So posted weight, did we already update that? Yes, it looks like we already updated posted weight. So let's just move straight on to gate. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and then comment out this guy. And let's go to gate. So we have posted weight gets replaced with gate. There's a blank right there, so we're going to look for that blank to be removed. And there it is. Great. Time off. Same thing for time off. I'm going to go ahead and copy this guy, paste it down below. And time off. Ooh, I missed a space. Time off is supposed to have a space. You're supposed to be watching like me make mistakes and call me out on them. Now I have to like do it over here in SQL Server instead. Man, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. This is the part where I start blaming you for stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just rename it here in SQL Server Management Studio. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to the file itself. Time off right here in the file. Delete that and save it. So by the time you see this, it'll actually be fixed and good to go as long as you follow the same steps. So just keep that in mind. Now that means since I changed the column name, that means I have to delete it here in order to actually get a value back. So there we are. Same right here. Time off. Now, this guy as well. I don't remember if I already did time off as far as like getting the values updated to null, but I can just query it. There we go. We can see null values. So that means, yes, we already took care of this one and we should be okay. Okay. Just want to make sure no one's asking for permission for my Google files. That happens a lot during my streams as well, as people sort of check out my content and realize that I make my data sets publicly available to anyone via my Google Drive. I usually get some permissions requests and stuff. Okay. So next, time off is done. Does terminal have any blanks? I don't see any, so we should be okay there. Primary destination, no blanks there as well. Hologram, we have a blank. So let's copy this and paste it. Hologram, there it is. I'm gonna copy hologram and set it to null when it's empty. Let's verify that. There it is right there. We can do the same thing for final destination. So we're going to copy, paste, and then comment this guy out. Why am I commenting them immediately after running? It's because I don't want to update something again by mistake. Sometimes we'll do that, right? If we leave code uncommented, you might run it by mistake if you just hit F5 or something. I don't use F5, I use Control E in Management Studio, and Control Enter in like Toad and SQL Developer for Oracle. But sometimes we'll do it by mistake, so I want to make sure I avoid mistakes all the time. All right, final destination. Let's update that, and there we are. Is it good? Final destination is now null. Rebel Spy, there's no blanks there, so I'm okay. And then additional notes. There's lots of blanks in additional notes, which makes sense. It's an optional value. So we'll go ahead and comment this. And now additional notes is our last one. Okay, great. So we are good to go here now. Our data set looks much better because it has nulls in it. Now, what I have to worry about is continuing the process of getting the correct data types. So time entered as time, I definitely want to do that. And the reason I even dove into this whole null conversation is because it had 0, 0, 0, 0 as the time for a blank value. And the value I needed was null, as you can see right here. So that's the value I wanted to keep. So I'm going to name this as time entered. And then this one is going to be as time entered raw or something like that. So that's the raw value. I don't need that anymore. Just like ride number is going to be as ride number raw, and ride number only is just now going to be the ride number. The column implies that it's a ride number, so I don't need to sort of repeat that text either from a data perspective, right? When it's on the sheet, completely understand. Okay, posted wait is going to be in minutes, and we just need to make sure that that's clear. So sometimes I would say like posted wait min or right? Because technically you can have it in seconds, you can have it in milliseconds if you really wanted to, just because we want to make sure we can compare. But posted wait, let's just do posted wait as posted wait for minutes. The gate is a letter, so we're okay with that. Time off, we want to treat it the same way, cast it as a time for time entered. So we'll say time off as time off raw, and then time entered, or sorry, time off here, we're going to replace this cast as time, and this is going to be time off regular, like whatever the regular value is. Okay, then we have terminal. Terminal is okay as a text. Primary destination, hologram, final destination is okay here. Rebel Spy, yes, no. This one is one where I want to transform it to like a YN or a 0, 1, because optimizing the data is part of my job. So I want to make sure I can optimize it. So I'm going to say case when Rebel Spy yes, no equals yes with an exclamation, then Y, else N. Or I can say this else is actually a question mark, and I can say when Rebel Spy yes, no equals no, then N. And then if there's any trouble with that, it'll have a question mark as Rebel Spy YN. And now we can see them right here. So this is Rebel Spy YN is going to be as Rebel Spy YN raw. Okay, and now we are good to go. Even additional notes is okay. It allows us to go up to 500 characters, so we're okay there. Now we're going to transfer all this data into our final table that we will then use in Power BI. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick ad break. And what I like to do here for ad breaks is just completely stop working here and focus on GeoGuessr instead. We're going to play some GeoGuessr. If you're subscribed to the channel, you'll be able to watch me play GeoGuessr and interact, or if Twitch doesn't choose you for an ad. If you're not, then we're just going to play GeoGuessr so you don't miss anything programming wise, and we're going to go ahead and come back and keep going. But for now, I'm just going to leave this as is, go play GeoGuessr for 3 minutes, and then come back and keep working. So I will see you in a few. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over to GeoGuessr. I think I might be able to make this bigger. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I have not played GeoGuessr since the last time I streamed, so hopefully I will do okay. If you're still here and watching, either congratulations, Twitch didn't choose you for an ad, or thank you for subscribing to the channel. I recognize that building. This is France, isn't it? And this is French as well. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say we're in Paris, just because anything more than that, like if I try to get more specific than that, I'm just gonna embarrass myself. So let's say we're somewhere near the Eiffel Tower. Let's see, this is why I'm not a GeoGuessr streamer. This is why. This is just terrible. It's just terrible. All right, let's go to libraries. So it's going to tell me exactly which library it is, and I'm still going to get this completely wrong. 100%. Where are we? The antiviral specialist. MGs. MGs, are we in Asia? It's lots of cool cars that are not available in any market that I've ever visited. So space for rent. Are we warehouse bodega? Are we in the Philippines? Pesos. I think these are Philippine pesos. I'm off my game, as you could tell, with the whole Canada and France thing. So let's just go ahead and go to Philippines. We'll go straight to the capital, because I know where that is. I know you don't, but I totally do. I'm not just like looking around for Manila. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm at. Oh my god. This is going to be embarrassing. Oh, there we go. Complete. Well, at least I got the right country. I'm okay with the right country. And we're back from ads already, because I was making a fool of myself with the France versus Canada thing. I was so confident I was in France at least. Let's do one more, and then we can go back to something we're actually okay at. This seems like Ciudad de Mexico, but I'm not. I've lost all confidence in myself this session. The green and white taxis tell me Ciudad de Mexico, or at least Mexico itself. But I just don't know. I just don't know anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and go, since Mexico's so big. I don't know. I don't know anymore. That whole France versus Canada thing just completely threw me off. I'm an idiot. Bolivia. Of course. It's a good thing that I don't do GeoGuessr streams, like I said. All right, so let's see. It looks like, there we go. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and switch back to something that I can actually be productive on, which is SQL Server. So if you're just tuning in, or if you're watching on YouTube after the fact and you're just flipping through chapters, because I put chapters on here for your convenience. We are currently exploring a data set that someone made on Reddit, or provided to us on Reddit, about their experiences in Star Tours. So the Hollywood Studios ride at Disney. They have where they what gate they went through, what terminal they went through, their experience, and then the final destination, things that happen inside the ride, that sort of thing. They rode it from park opening to pretty much park closing, as far as I can see, 35 or so times. And they shared the data with us in Google Sheets. We downloaded that, we exported it to CSV, and now we uploaded it to SQL Server, and we're transforming it inside of SQL Server so that we can report on it with Power BI, and also maybe ask a couple SQL Server questions. So let's keep going here. We are at the point where we are ready to transfer this to our permanent table. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is just build a table. So build a final destination table that we can use for our final resting place for this data. So when we import the data, it's always going to go to staging. And then when it's ready, it's going to go to our final table, which we're building right now. So I like to sort of cheat a little bit. I'm going to go off to the left here and sort of right click on STG Star Tours. Then I'll script the table as a create to new window. And what that'll do is give me a create script already. So what I'll do is eliminate this STG because it's no longer a staging table like the final version. And then here off to the right, I have all the columns that I want, or all the data for all the columns. And on the left, what I'm going to do is change the data type from varchar 500 to whatever I think it's going to be. So for ride number, for example, which is going to be this guy, this one's no longer going to be here. That's going to be an integer. So I'll say int. Or is it? No, it can't. It has to be a decimal because they have like 0.5s here. So that's what we want to do, is decimal. And as you can see, they have one digit after the decimal. We're just going to go ahead and do 18 digits total, 2 after the decimal place. That's a universal one that I like to use for money. For example, I don't like to use money. Money has rounding issues in my experience, and so I'd rather use decimal 18.2. The time entered, that's going to be a time, right? We have it in time right here. Posted weight is actually going to be posted weight for minutes, and that is going to be int, just because there are never any instances where it's half a minute. The gate, that's going to be a varchar. I don't want it as big as 500 though. As you can see, it's a single digit here. We're going to be generous and just give it 10, just in case they want to expand the values to some other gate, like C4 or C5 or something like that in the future, right? That's what, let's say you're looking at airport data, which is, this is probably the closest relation that you can find, is airport, air traffic data, whatever, air transportation data. So that gate, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a 10 character. Time off is also going to be a time. The terminal, that's right here. This is going to be a varchar, but we'll do something like 40, just because we're generous. Doesn't look like 40. And in fact, you can use like the length function to see what the largest one is, and then maybe double that if you want. Bytes are free, right? Bytes are free. Primary destination. This looks a little bit longer, so we're just going to do varchar 50. Hologram. Same. We're going to do about 50 here. And if we want to just keep it consistent, let's just do 50 for all of them. Final destination. Final destination, same thing, 50. Rebel spy. Yes, no. That can either be, depending on how you went, it can either be a varchar, and usually I'll go with 1, but maybe I'll just do 5 just in case they want to change it back to yes, no, or something like that. Or if you went with a bit, which is a 1 or a 0 here in this case statement here, if you went with 1, 0 or null, then you would just say bit, or Boolean in Oracle if you wanted to. All right, and then we have additional notes. We're going to leave that as 500. We're going to leave that as 500. And then we can do something like add an ID column to the top. So ID or record ID, you know, something like that. I'm just going to say ID. This is going to be an integer, not null, and I'm going to make it my primary key, just because I don't want the table to be a heap. And then I'm also going to say import date as datetime2, or just datetime. And then I'll say default is get date, meaning if I don't provide a date, it's just going to say whatever the date was at the time of the import, server time. And then you can add other stuff to keep track, depending on how you like to keep track. Maybe an update date for the record being updated. You can also add something like a checksum. If you want to keep the integrity, you can say updated by or inserted by, that sort of thing. Batch ID, whatever you want to, file ID. It's up to you. I'm going to keep things simple and just do this. And again, I will be providing this, so you will have complete access to it. In fact, let me go ahead and move it over here in my script, because I'm going to have one full script for you. And let me add some comments like creating final table, like that. And now I can insert the data into that final table, which is great. So what I'm going to do is build an insert statement to this table, but I can, again, cheat a slight amount here. And what I can do is I can go over to the Object Explorer, right click and refresh on tables, and you'll see my new table, the Star Tours. Now I'm going to right click on that and script it as a select top 1000. Then I'm going to grab this whole thing, close it, because I don't need that anymore. Now I have it here. So when I mentioned I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit, what I meant was, well, I can grab this from the from and say insert into there. And then for my columns, because I like to put explicit columns, I'm just going to copy my select statements column. So now I have an insert into with all the columns I want to insert. And then I have a select statement down here, which I'm just going to replace with values from here. So the only column I'm not going to insert anything into is the ID, because I can't insert into that unless I enable a specific feature called identity insert. It's going to auto-populate those values for me. So I'm just going to let it do its thing, which also means I'm going to remove this. Technically, I'm going to remove the top 1000 as well. So here we go. Now we have the import date, ride number, time entered, etc., etc. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace with values from this query down here. And the first thing I want to do is make sure I take the table that I'm getting the data from and use that in my select statement. Okay, so now you can see immediately I have some issues here. For example, import date just does not exist in SDG Star Tours. So I'm just going to replace that with get date. Or if I want to be very, very consistent, I can actually just create a variable called time now as a date time and set that equal to get date. That way it'll collect it one time down to the microsecond, millisecond, microsecond, whatever you have it set to, if it's datetime, datetime2, and it'll always use that value instead of potentially increasing by a couple microseconds or milliseconds or whatever it is. So it's going to grab it once and then use that same exact value for however many records you insert. That's the way I like to do it, especially when I know I'm going to have thousands, hundreds of thousands of records. I want them all to have the same exact timestamp. So that is my recommendation. You do you. As long as you get paid, I really don't mind. All right. So ride number, this is not giving us squiggly lines, but if you remember, what we actually did was change the value of ride number. So this is the ride number that we want to add. So I'm going to do that like this and just make sure that I'm okay here and I'm semi-aligned at least. Normally I just leave this in one line, but hey, it's a special day today. Is it your birthday? Time entered. I'm also going to leave this right here. This is the value I want for time entered. posted weight is going to be okay. I don't need to do that. And what if like I don't feel like scrolling up and down? Well, if you look up to the top right of the screen, which is really annoying because you can't see my cursor. Hopefully I can enable that one day. But on the top right of the screen, right above this scroll bar, there's actually a button that's a hidden button. It almost seems like a hidden button, but it's 2 arrows pointing up and down with a line in between. When you click and hold that button, you can actually separate your window into 2 separate windows, but you get to interact with the same exact file. So I can keep this part of the query open up here. I can interact with it down here. So it makes it really easy to like copy paste or just review things for like long store procedures, for example. You don't have to keep scrolling up or down. That's a tip for you. See? Watching me babble pays off sometimes, just sometimes. Okay, posted weight, I'm just gonna put posted weight. Where is it? Yeah, it's just posted weight. So now it's not gonna yell at me. Gate, I didn't modify. Time off, I did modify, so I'm gonna take the modified version like that. You can even add like as time off here if you want to. And like here I can say as time on. Oh no, it's time entered. Normally I would say something like, okay, well, we need to change the names of the columns to time entered and time exited, or time on, time off instead of time entered. But I think time entered was when they entered the line. So I think they wanted to say like, hey, here's when I entered the line, here's when I exited the ride. Like, here's the time I got off the ride, so that they could get the full amount of experience. I'll have to check with the data source creator to see if that's the case. I'm just sort of implying this, but it may not be true. Okay, and the only other column we modified was this case statement for Rebel Spy. So there it is right here. I'm just going to replace this. Did I modify anything else up here? No, I left these all as is. I didn't modify them at all or transform them, right? So we should be okay here now. So I am ready to go ahead and insert this data into the final table, but it looks like the scalar value, the variable is what's needed. So I'm going to go ahead and close this like separator, and all I have to do is just get my cursor to be in a place where I can move it around, and just double click right there and it goes away. So what I need to do is test my select statement to make sure it works before I try to insert the data. And for that, I'm just going to comment the insert into part, run this with the declare, and now I have everything I need. I am good to go here. This doesn't have a column name, so I'm just going to give it one. It's not necessary, but for convenience and for readability, I want to be able to provide that for you. So let's just try that again, make sure I didn't mess anything up. And we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this insert into, and cannot insert the value null into column ID. Yes. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to set this up to be a identity. So let's do that really quick. And to do that, I promised you in the notification, if you got the notification for Twitch, I promised you we'd be dropping tables today. So we're going to drop this final table. Don't do this at home. And we're going to recreate it with an identity. I think it's here. Identity 11. Let's try creating it and see if we get it. Yep, it let us create it, and we have a primary key right here at the top, so we are good to go. It's not a heap. Now let's try that one more time, and there we go. 36 rows affected. Now we're gonna go to Object Explorer. We're gonna go to Tables, right click, refresh, and select top 1000, and let's see how our table looks. It looks good to me. It looks good to me. So we are okay here. We're okay. We're seeing all of our data. We're seeing our nulls. This is the final version of the table that we wanted. So we are good to go. So let me go ahead and copy this I'm gonna close that. I just want to make sure I'm prepping the script for you correctly here. Here's the final version of the data. We have our insert statement, right? Here's our insert statement. So I'm just gonna do like a separation. Why is my SQL prompt not working? I forgot to activate my license after I did my update. So we're just gonna take it easy here. Okay. What is it that I'm doing? I forgot already. Creating comment bars by myself, like I don't know, like some sort of non-data architect. Okay. So what we want to do here is comment the fact that we are doing an insert statement. Insert data into final table like this. Maybe copy a couple of these to make it apparent that we're switching areas. And then here, just a final check. Okay, do I have everything? No. This is my sort of exploratory query for transformation. So this is the one I want to push right here. And now let's go ahead and close this and save right here for you. Just because I want to provide this data set to you as soon as possible after I finish. So we'll say star tours, and then we'll say ETL, maybe. We'll call this ETL. Why not? SQL dev DBA underscore star tours ETL. Okay, and then we're just gonna do a couple of comments here. So something like created by, created date, description, like that. And then created by is me, SQL dev DBA, created date is today. I apologize to the civilized world, but this is how I write dates. Description is import / transformation or star tours data. And then let's give a shout out and credit to the dataset creator. Credit right here, and also to the Reddit post. I'm not going to give direct link over to the Google Sheets because they may have changed it. Data source. They may change it, and I think the only thing that won't change is the Reddit post itself. So if they want to go back and edit it to change to a different file or something, you won't be confused when you're reading this or seeing it, I don't know, a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now. I still have people watching videos from like the first stream I did with Formula One data, which is pretty cool to see. It's pretty cool to see. Maybe I should make a new version of that data as well. All right, let's do like a little comment garden here so it looks okay. Because I'm a professional, right? That's what I tell myself anyway. Okay, so our script is ready. This is what I'm going to be sharing with you. And I'm also going to be sharing one more thing. And let me record this in a way where I'll be able to grab the short in a few. But if you want to go ahead and write out, not just create statements, but also insert statements right in SQL Server, you can do that from in SQL Server Management Studio. All you have to do is go to the Object Explorer, and then you go to theme parks or whatever the database is. You go right here, and then you say tasks, generate scripts. So if you want to export and generate scripts for not just your create statements, but also your insert data, which is not a common thing that a lot of people know about in Management Studio, you can definitely do that. All you have to do is go to the Object Explorer, right click on the database that has the table that you're trying to export, generate scripts, follow the wizard and pretend you're just doing the standard table. So I'm going to pick select specific objects. I'm going to go to dbo.startours, which is the correct one. Hit next. And then right here is where sort of the magic happens. what I'm going to do is open this in a new query window, but I'm going to hit advanced. And in advanced, if I scroll down, what you will see here is types of data to script. Instead of schema only, you're going to choose schema and data. That is going to generate not only a create statement, but also an insert, or lots of insert statements. So when I click finish, now you can see I have my create table statement, and I also have the inserts. Now, when I have the inserts, what's going to happen? I'm going to be able to take this over to Azure Data Studio. I'm going to be able to take it over to the online editor on your browser for Azure SQL DB. This is the one that I want you to be able to import in Azure SQL DB. So what I'm going to do is just save this. Technically speaking, I can just get rid of all these goes if I want to. So let's do that. And I wish there were a better way to do this. I wish you could disable the goes. Maybe if you find a way to disable the goes, let me know. Because this is kind of frustrating, right? To have to do that. And technically, you don't have to do this. It's just way better, in my opinion, because we're not separating batches here. We're not separating entire queries. It can just run as lots of insert statements together, and it might be less compute power that's taken from your Azure SQL DB. But it gives me a chance to babble, right? Okay. So now I can save this as a true create and insert. So let's go ahead and do that. Star Tours, and then we'll say create and insert. So if you just want to be able to take this final version of the data and not have to worry about all the work that we did up to this point, you can just run this and that's it. All right, great. So that is done. And now I think all that's left. Oh no, wait, we're going to do Power BI in a few. But first I want to tackle a couple SQL questions just in case you want to just practice SQL with this data set, and that's it. Let's take a look at a couple SQL Server questions. So if you remember, I actually took all the column names and I just generated a standard prompt that said, I have a data set about experiences at the Star Tours ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. The fields are below. Can you give me an example? Can you give me sample interview questions that I can use to practice SQL? And then here are all the field names. So it took from those field names and was able to generate questions for SQL Server or SQL practice. It doesn't have to be SQL Server. It can be any platform that you want. In fact, I have a video on my channel. Here's right there. If you go to that link or one of those links, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can feel free to switch over to my channel if you want instead of just my live stream. But basically, I show you 5 different websites that you can use to practice SQL without having to install anything, without having to download anything. You can do it on a Mac. I show me doing it on my iPad, so you can feel free to go there. And the last 2 are options that you can use to get this type of data that we're working on today and use it in an online database. Use your own data. You don't have to use the data that's provided for you on these websites. These are full-blown databases. They're absolutely free. Again, no installs, no downloads, or anything like that. So let's go ahead and try to tackle a couple of these questions. Okay, we'll take, 1 or 2. We'll take a couple of easy questions, because the point here is just to show it, but we'll see if we can tackle some harder ones too. Because remember, you can use these same questions not just for SQL Server or for SQL practice, but also for data and analytics in business intelligence. So if you have Power BI, Tableau, again, Crystal reports, which I don't know why. I don't know why you keep using Crystal reports. If you're out there and you're still using Crystal reports, I'm here. I'm here to let you, you can call me and you can vent about, Crystal reports designer closing on you after you did, let's say 4 hours of work, just trying to get like a pixel perfect version of a table. And then Crystal Reports designer just decided to close without saving anything for the last 3 days. You know, feel free to call me. I will listen to you. Yeah. So, okay. How many total rides are recorded in the data set? Let's go ahead and pop open like a simple select statement from this new table, right? Which we have at the very bottom here. So we're going to use that. So I'll just bring up a standard select statement. And then how many total rides are recorded in the data set? I mean, that's a pretty simple one, right? We're just going to say select count. And we can do either star or distinct ride ID. If they want unique rides, we can do distinct ride number. So distinct, we can do both. Here's count star, and here's count distinct ride number as unique rides from this table. Oh, I guess I should copy this up here, and I like leading commas because I'm uneducated. So I don't know. You can complain all you want about that, but I'm not changing it as total records. So why did I do total records? And let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Why did I make a total records column and a unique rides column? Well, this is a common thing that I do after I load my data and transform it and do all that sort of thing. I want to make sure that I have unique records only where I need unique records. So if the total number of records matches the number of unique rides, I know all my records are unique. If I had, let's say, total records is 40 and my unique rides was 36, I know I'd have some sort of duplication that I need to go target. So that is something that I really encourage you to do, is do a count star and then also do a count distinct of whatever your key is supposed to be or whatever your unique value is supposed to be. If those two things don't match, you're in trouble. And this is a good way of finding, this is a good additional question that I can contribute here, right? Is find a way to identify whether or not the table has fully, okay, that's sort of not what I wanted there, fully unique values. So this is a good question here. I'm going to leave that here, and then I'm also going to have this question here. How many total rides are recorded in the data set? We'll just do a simple select count star or count ride number. As, and then we'll name this something like total rides. And there we go. 36 is the answer to that, right? What is the average posted wait time for all rides? Let's go ahead and bring this question down here. The average posted wait time for all rides, if we just query the full data set again, we can say posted wait time in minutes, and we could just do a select average of posted wait as average posted wait time from our table. And that's an aggregate that we can use. But something I look for is, okay, well, there's 10. 10 is the average posted wait time. But sometimes I'll look for a little bit extra. And if they do this, great. If not, it's not going to count against them. But if they do it, it really, it shows me that they're thinking analytically, which is they automatically just say, well, I also want to know the min as min posted wait time and the max as max posted wait time. Just so we know, okay, what are we looking at? It's an average of 10, but what's the minimum and maximum? That shows me they're already thinking analytically and about the reporting. Also, the number of records really ties into this, right? If it's an average of 10, but there's only 2 records, one of them is 0 and the other one is 20, then yes, it's going to be an average of 10, but that average doesn't really mean anything because there's only 2 records. So even having our count Our count here is what gives us the complete picture. So we have unique rides is 36, so that's a good amount of records to have the average, min, and max actually mean something. If it's just one record, then it is the average, it is the minimum, it is the maximum. So obviously, like sites like LeetCode and stuff like that, they'll look for a very specific answer. But in my interviews, I look for this stuff, but it doesn't count against you if you don't do it. It's just, if I look to see what sort of curiosity the person has about the data as they're exploring it. So either way is fine. Okay, should we try like one or two intermediates? Find the 3 most common final destinations. Okay, I like that one. Let's try that. Let's go back to SQL Server here. Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Find the top 3 most common final destinations. Okay, so what I like to do here is, again, you'll always see me sort of querying the whole thing just to make sure I have what I need. So now I'm just going to say select final destination right here, right? Select, if I learned how to spell select final destination. So here are all the final destination values, but they're not unique. So to make them unique, you can do distinct, but since we're going to be counting them anyway, I'm going to go with a group by. So this will give us the unique destinations. Some of them are null because there was no final destination. I'm, again, assuming, but this won't mean anything until I speak to the dataset creator, that it's just they got evacuated from the ride. It didn't finish. Or they simply did not gather the data. They forgot. They had to take care of something, that sort of thing. Okay, so now how do I know which ones are the 3 most common? Well, all I have to do is count the number of distinct ride number as unique rides. And now I have the unique rides. But what if I want to know the top 3? Because that's what the question was, right? So I'm just going to do an order by this, the count that we had, descending. That'll at least order them by the most common. And then these are the 3 I'm looking to isolate, right? So there's a couple different ways you can do this. For example, one of the ways you can do it, and I'm just going to leave both of them here because I'm going to explain 2 of them. I'm going to say select top 3. And that gives me that. This is a SQL Server only thing. There's a couple other database platforms that use top, but Oracle, for example, will not do that. Oracle will use more like row number or a qualify, perhaps, something like that. So this is one way, and it still gets you across the finish line. If you want a more commonplace one, it's actually sort of a double, or maybe there's sort of a, you can either use a subquery or a CTE. I prefer to use CTEs just because I find them easier to work with, but Eric Darling has a fantastic series on CTEs and why they're actually not fantastic as far as performance and optimization goes. And in his mind, even clarity and readability is better with subqueries, which I love his videos, and I will never argue a point with him. He's absolutely right about so much of the stuff that he blogs about and makes videos about, and he actually does the work of testing it. He doesn't just say these things. That's what I like about Eric Darling's videos. If you haven't checked them out, I'll go ahead and leave his channel up here in the chat as well. Let's see. Oh, I have to reboot my prompter because it's like dead. Let's see if I can do that. I'm not getting any chat messages here. Okay, let's do youtube.com/@. Now I want to make sure I have the right one. YouTube Eric Darling, not Eric Clapton. This one right here. Tama Bye Bye says, hello, everyone. Hi. Hi. I hope you're doing very well. I hope you're doing very well. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So here is Eric Darling's channel, which you can hop into. He does a great job of like actually testing things that he has opinions about, and it's very very insightful, the kind of stuff that he discovers as he's talking about it. I've been a fan of his for a really long time. I have one of his books. It's let's see if I can show my cameras. Let's see. I think it shows well. One of his books is actually right there. It's hidden by a couple other books, but it's certainly there. So I really enjoy his content. All right. So top 3 is one of the ways you can do it, and then let's go to the other way. The first one would be a CTE. So let's do it with CTE of destinations. We'll call it destinations. As Tema Bye Bye says, which neural network is best for optimizing SQL queries? If you mean like artificial intelligence, like which AI tool, YouTube with Eric Darling and Brent Ozar's videos is the only network I would choose right now. I would not trust right now AI to tune my queries. I think it's not there yet, just because it tries to straddle all platforms. I think I specialize in SQL Server and Oracle, and so I would make sure I do that work myself, because ultimately I'm responsible for it. But SQL Prompt, I'm a customer of SQL Prompts, and they have an AI tool that helps now a bit. Quest Spotlight is a good one to sort of look at as well for optimization, because they have a monitor for it. But I would only trust right now myself with Brent Ozar and Eric Darling's scripts. So that's the ones I would probably recommend at this point. I wouldn't recommend any AI for optimization at the moment. Tema Bye Bye says, could you send me a link to what you think is the best YouTube channel? That is like for SQL. Eric Darling, which is one that I just posted up there, is a really great one. Brent Ozar as well does a lot of great work for optimization and performance tuning. He's actually a streamer on Twitch as well, so I'm going to shout out Brent Ozar, and you can see their channel right here as well. So yeah, definitely check them out. They're fantastic. Steve said, what's up? Tema Bye Bye. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. So yeah, I would definitely go with Brent or Eric. Kendra Little is fantastic as well. She does a lot of performance tuning and database administration tasks. Let's see who else I can think of. Andy Leonard for anything ETL related, data engineering related. Andy also streams on Twitch. Andy Leonard. Definitely check those out, because they're really great for performance tuning, data engineering, that sort of thing. So yeah, those would be my recommendations if I could recommend anyone. All right, so we have CTE here. Let's go ahead and create that CTE as our first part. So there's our CTE. We're calling it CTE destinations, and then we're going to select again the top 3. Oh, you know what else we could do? Let's do one more thing. I mentioned qualify earlier. So what we can actually do is we can sort of rank or row number. We can do a row number over partition. No, just order by the count distinct descending. Let's see if that works for us. Why doesn't it? What is it yelling at us about? Let me go ahead and remove this CTE here to see if that helps. I don't want the top 3 anymore. And this guy, I must have forgotten like space or something. Okay. Oh, row number needs open and close parentheses. That's what it is. Okay, so if I do, well, of course not. Count distinct of that. Let me go ahead and comment this guy out again. Thanks very much. Temai says, thanks very much. You're very kind. Oh, I appreciate that. Likewise. Hope they help. I know it's sometimes tough to find good resources, free ones specifically. I'm a huge proponent in only using paid content when it's either extremely inexpensive or when someone else is paying. For example, when you're just starting off or when you're transitioning into data, there's so much really good free content, even especially by Eric Darling and Brent Ozar. I try to have as much, really good quality content as I can as well. But definitely, I'm against paying at the beginning. Once you're trying to level up your skills as a professional, then sure. But for learning about data, definitely recommend just free resources on YouTube, for example. Okay, so this isn't working out the way I thought it was. Let's try row number here as well. Oh, I think it does work now. Okay, great. So it did work. Oh, for keyboards, you want to type keyboards. There you go. Okay, that list is incomplete, by the way. If you look, it ran out of characters. Like, it doesn't let me put all my keyboards. Right now, I'm at like 43, 44, I think is my count currently. And I just ran out. I'm going to have to add like a keyboards 2 or keyboards continued. Something like that. So I'm not able to put them on there anymore. Maybe I'll build a Power BI report about them and just have that displayed instead. We'll see. Okay, so we can see that we did our row number here, and the row number also categorizes them right here. It gives them a ranking by the number of unique rides for that final destination. So you could technically do a with CTE destinations here as this query. And then select from that CTE. So you can say select star. Don't select star, but I'm about to. So from CTE destinations. And then here I can put a where clause that says where row number is less than or equal to 3. And that'll also get you where you need to go. So top or row number, whichever one you want. Tema Bye Bye says, this is the first time I see such a huge number of keyboards. Are you a fan of keyboards? And Tema Bye Bye also says, Newfie's not on the list. Have you tried working with Newfie? So I don't work with any of the brands as far as like affiliation or anything like that. I just purchased these as a consumer. But maybe you mean like, have you tried Newfie's keyboards? I'm very interested in them for sure. But on this, I'm a part of the Newfie subreddit, and I've heard some good things, and I've also heard some bad things. So I'm interested in, like, I think it's called the Air 85, just one of their standard ones, and I haven't actually, hit order on it just because I'm hearing good and bad things. But it happens with any brand, right? So, I might give it a shot one of these days. I might go ahead and venture into the world of Newfie, but not yet. Now I just have so many other ones that I try to switch keyboards at least once or twice a week, just to keep them all operating and fresh. So we'll see. I might work a Newfie into the rotation, maybe sometime soon. All right, so I think we solved some SQL query questions. Again, you can also ask this like for optimization from ride operations, and they'll give you completely different questions, and that's really cool as well. So you can practice those. I'm gonna go ahead and just copy everything here and just leave this in the scripts for you all. So there's some like this, and then there's some other ones as well, just in case you either don't have ChatGPT or Bing Chat, or you just want to get to work right from here. You can absolutely do that right here. So let's do that. And now we'll save this and we'll call it Star Tours interview questions, like that. And then I'll be sharing all of those. No. All right. No. There we go. Tema Bye Bye says, I have 3 Newfie keyboards for work. I like them very much. My favorite is the Newfie Halo 75 V2. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against the brand. It just seeing the varying opinions just has me a little bit nervous about buying one, but I really like the design. I think they're really nice, and I've seen lots of great pictures, right? I haven't followed them on YouTube yet. I have followed KZZI on YouTube, and I really like the products that they're putting out recently, so maybe I'll follow Newfie on YouTube and see if they have any good designs. But yeah, maybe that seems really cool, that the Halo 75. I thought there was an 85, but I think it's the 75 that you're referring to. That must be the one I was thinking of. All right, so let's sort of recap where we are, what we've accomplished so far, because we're about to move into the reporting section, or the business intelligence Power BI section. So we got the data set from Google Sheets, from our source, which again is right here. Here's their YouTube channel, Wave SEI, Reddit post as well. I'm going to go ahead and copy the Reddit post. It's been a while since I have done so. So here's the Reddit post where I was able to download the Google Sheets document, which is right here. I downloaded it to a CSV. We imported that CSV into SQL Server after fixing a couple things that we needed to in order to do so. And then we asked ChatGPT for a couple interview style questions that we could resolve with SQL Server. And again, you'll be able to do this with Azure SQL DB if you follow my videos on how to install quote unquote and configure it. And now all that's left is the Power BI side. So let's get to work. Basically, there's a couple different ways you can consume this data with Power BI. You could just consume the Google Sheets directly. You can consume it as a CSV file, as you can import the CSV file that we already sort of curated, and you can also grab the data from SQL Server or Azure SQL DB or even Oracle. So we're going to do 2 of those just to show you what it looks like. We're going to do the CSV and also SQL Server. So what I'm going to do is just pop open Power BI, and I'm going to start a blank report, and it's just a blank slate right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit Get Data, and I'm going to set search for text and CSV. Now, I need to go find my data sets, and here it is in Star Tours, and this is the one I want to use, the Star Tours sheet1.csv. I'm going to hit Open, and because we sort of did a few transformations, it's in a better state than it would have been. So if you're just doing this with the raw file from that data set, I would suggest using mine instead, my version of it, or just following the steps that we did earlier in the video. If you go back to that part of the video, you'll be able to take out the first column and the first row. Both of those need to be removed, and also remove the spaces from the columns. Unless you like that, that's fine too. You just have to, can't use my Power BI file if you do that. All right. Now, some people like to transform their data as soon as they get it here. I don't like to do that. I like to let it roll in and do my transformations sort of after. You're welcome to do either one. What I would suggest is, if your file is small enough and it's more than 200 rows, I always recommend doing based on entire data set for data type detection. And the reason for that is that your first 200 rows may not contain some data. Some fields may be blank. So luckily this file is only 36 data sets. 36 rows, but if you have one with like 500, 1,000, some of them may not have data in the first couple columns, and if it's small enough and your computer is good enough, I would recommend using entire data set. So I'm going to go ahead and load, and you can see Star Tours Sheet 1 is now loaded, and when I expand here, I can see my values. I can see all the columns. So let's start with something very simple, which is how many rides there are. That was our first interview question in SQL Server, right? So we're just going to add a card. I'm going to collapse the filters a little bit just because I want as much real estate as possible. So I'm just going to add a simple card here. And I'm just going to use the ride ID, which is this ride number here. Yeah, so we'll use that. We're going to drag it right here into the fields, and then we're going to right click it and say count distinct. So we have 36 unique rides. Now, something I also like to do even before doing this card is just do a simple table. So I'm going to do a simple table here that has all of our data, including the ride number. So I'm going to check that. And then we can follow sort of the same exact format that this file has. So ride number, time entered, post wait. Ride number, time entered, posted wait. Gate, time off, terminal. Gate, time off, terminal. Primary destination, hologram, final destination. Primary destination, hologram, final destination. Rebel spy, and additional notes. And you can always switch the order of these columns afterward, right? So if I want like time entered and time off together, I could definitely do that right here. If I want posted time above that or before that, I can do that too. You'll notice that sum of posted wait is a sum. I do not want that. So I'm just going to right click here and I'm just going to say don't summarize. And now you can see that it's not summarized anymore. I'm going to look for anything else that's like that. We do have time entered and time off. I want to see if I can switch those to be a time column. So time entered, I'm going to click on it. And then the format is already data type time, which is good. Power BI did that automatically. Let's make sure it did it with time off as well. It already switched it to time. So that means we're going to have some time intelligence in here. So we have at least our table. Now what I want to do is jump into creating some initial visuals that'll answer some questions. This isn't going to be a full-blown Power BI report. It's not going to look absolutely perfect. I'll probably do that sort of a little bit later and offline and give you the final version of the report via a link. But it is going to be enough to sort of make some initial analysis. And I'm hoping I can sneak in an additional graphic for you, which should help tell a pretty good story of how the journeys went. But it looks like Twitch wants us to take an ad break, so we will do so for about 90 seconds. I'm going to leave this as is because I don't want you to miss anything. I want you to get the full experience. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to ads. I'm going to play a little bit of GeoGuessr, and when we come back, we will continue with our report. So I will see you in about 90 seconds. All right, let's keep going here. I like beaches, so we'll go to beaches. This is a beach. Is this Greek or Cyrillic? Is Greece or Russia? I wish there were like flags. Oh, there's some, no. I was going to say maybe it's white buildings, but I'm going to go with Greek. I'm going to go with Greece. I don't know where. And it's probably wrong. Maybe it's like Turkey or something like that. This is a Tema Bye says this is maybe Sochi. You know what? That's possible. That's very possible, isn't it? I only know, to be completely honest, I only know of Sochi because of Formula One. But yeah, could very well be Sochi. Isn't it like right here? Russia's so huge. I really just don't know. No, that's Kazakhstan. My gosh. What coast? Where is the coast? It's not in the north, is it? It's not like St. Petersburg area. I thought Sochi was in the south of Russia. I have no idea. But maybe if we just say Russia. This is Georgia. Maybe it's somewhere here. It's a good thing I'm really good at this game, isn't it? Maybe Sochi's over here. I'm so lost. Oh, there it is right here. Okay, I'm gonna trust you on this one. I, for some reason, think it's Greece, but I'll trust you, and we'll go with Sochi, and we'll see. Ukraine. we got this. We got this one. Let's keep going. More beaches, because beaches are good. Beaches are sometimes easy, sometimes very, very difficult. Tim of my says, "Wow, yes." Okay, I'm seeing. Oh, is this Dubai? Or is this one of the Emirates? Abu Dhabi, Dubai? I want to say it is. I want to say I've like seen this picture before or seen something like close to it. And it was Dubai that I gotta go with my gut here. I gotta go with my gut. And say it's, I don't know if it's Dubai or Abu Dhabi, but I want to say it's one of the two. But I may be completely wrong. That's why, again, this is why yeah, Qatar, of course. Because, yeah, let's do one more. Just one more to see if I can get some sort of redemption. This immediately, like the mountains. Is this Vietnamese? Or is this just Korea? Something about this is telling me Korea. Oh, I just don't know. I just don't know. That was a mistake doing this. This was a grave mistake. I really don't know. Let's see. Do we have any cars that could give it away? Hyundai. I want to say this is South Korea. I don't know where. I have no idea where. Somewhere in the south of South Korea. I don't know. Oh, yeah, we were like super close. 22 kilometers. I'll take it. Let's end this one on a high note. Let's go back to something we're actually okay at, which is these data sets. Okay, so we are in the thick of the Power BI report right now, or just getting started actually. So we've created a table in Power BI, and what we want to do is use this table to sort of just verify things, verify that the data is coming in well. But I also have one visual that I really want to show you that I think will add a lot of depth to this analysis, because when you think about Star Tours, it's actually a journey. It is a journey into the world of Star Wars. And so it has a beginning, middle, and end. There's a flow to each and every ride. And something I'm seeing right now, right here, is that ride 1 comes right before ride 10. And there's really no way to sort that. So I'm going to go ahead and create another column to do that. But before I do, what I want to do is show you how to import this into import its data into Power BI from SQL Server. So in order to do that, we're going to right click on Star Tours again and build a select statement, and then remove this top 1000 and just create a view. Create view. I never like to give access to Power BI directly to my tables, so I'll just create a view that I can sort of lay out on top of the table. And the view will basically just be exactly like the table. Let me see if I can grab some of my comments from up top. Just like this. Great. Tema Bye says, I'm a Power BI developer. I'm very interested in watching your content. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. And Tema Bye also says, to tell you the truth, my English is bad, but I understand what you're showing. No worries. No worries at all. Glad to have you here. And if you want to correct me on anything, you can feel free to. I've been, just a little bit of background on myself, I've been in the data space for about 15 years. and I've been in Power BI since about 2017, 2018. So that's now coming up on about 8 years for Power BI. It's been an interesting journey for sure, but Power BI pays the bills, so I can't be mad at it for that. Okay, so let's see. Description is returns values about star tours data or something like that. Returns star tours data. Why not? So we'll go ahead and create this view. We're gonna leave it in the theme parks database and just let it go here. Tema Bye Bye says, I like that you use shortcuts in SSMS. Few of my colleagues use keyboard shortcuts, but I really like them. Yeah, I like using for comments and uncomments. I like doing that. I like using it for like adding values. For example, like if I wanted to copy just the columns here, I can do that here and add them right here as that. That makes it really easy to do if you just hold Alt and highlight. I actually also have SQL prompt, but I haven't enabled it. I just did my upgrade before the stream started, and in order to activate my license, I would have to log in front of you, which, yeah, I'm not going to do that in front of, you know, whoever's watching. So I'll leave it for next time. But SQL prompt is one that I would suggest if you like keyboard shortcuts or like just productivity in general. SQL prompt is fantastic, and I pay for the service out of my own pocket just because it's so nice. It's so nice. Okay, so now that we have this view, let's load it into Power BI. We're going to go to Get Data. We're going to go to SQL Server, which is somewhere around here. There it is, SQL Server. Then we're going to select Micro PC1, which is my server. If you're in Azure SQL DB, because you followed my videos on how to activate Azure SQL DB, you can use Azure SQL DB right here. You would just do the whatever your database is, .database.windows.net, database credentials, and you're good to go. Okay, and here I'm just going to choose import because I'd rather use import and not direct query. We used direct query in a couple streams over the last couple weeks just because we needed to get to the second live data, and that was a lot of fun. Air traffic data, if I remember correctly. That was really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hit load, and it'll actually use the data types from the SQL Server tables or views to automatically identify the data. And as you can see, we have another data set down here, and that's the VW Star Tours, which is my view. I'm not going to use that right now, but I should. Why? Because I already did some additional transformations, right? I already have a ride number here. That's just the number. I already have some additional data points that I transformed. So I would trust this data more. But if you're just using CSVs, that's absolutely fine too. I'm going to stick with the CSV. Just go on slightly harder mode, which is okay. So what I want to do is resolve this whole ride number issue here. I just want to separate it into its own. I'm going to do that the really, really easy way, which is I'm just going to create a calculated column. And that calculated column is going to be ride number simple. And that's going to be equal to, can I do replace? No, it's substitute. Substitute. Let me open this. Text is ride number. The old value I want is ride space number. And the new value I want is nothing. And hopefully this just gives you the number as a ride number. Let's see how that works. There it is. Okay, great. So here we are. We have the numbers, and that means we should be able to sort by this if we switch it to a ride, to an integer. So right now it's text. We're going to switch it to a decimal number and hit yes. And now we can sort by this ride number. There we go. Now we're good here. Okay, so then we have a posted weight, and we just want to make sure that posted weight is also a number. Yes, it is. All right, so we're just going to do some simple visuals. So we have a number of unique rides. So we'll say number unique rides. What else can we do? So terminals. destinations, gates, that sort of thing. And I like to use a bar chart for those just because it's simple. It's simple to do. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bar chart here. And I'm just going to have, let's start with the gate. So I'm going to put gate as the y-axis and unique ride numbers as the x-axis. So I'm going to drag it into the x-axis, right click on it and say count distinct. And now we can see ride numbers by gate is right here. Now, you may ask yourself, why did you choose a horizontal bar chart instead of a vertical one? I only like to have vertical bar charts when I'm trying to show some sort of progression. So over time or by scoring of some sort, that's when I like to use vertical bar charts, because your mind automatically goes left to right. If I did this as a vertical bar chart, maybe with gate you could sort of get away with it because it's a sequence of numbers or letters. But the reality is this to me doesn't make much sense. There's no, unless you're like looking at the gates and going, okay, right here, these are the gates in this order, and I'm gonna actually use this. But a lot of the time I'll see bar charts, vertical bar charts, placed where there's really no sequence from left to right. There's no meaning to the left or right. It's just because of the fact that it's ordering by that. So when I'm not ordering by time or by score or by some numerical value, I'll usually do horizontal bar charts just because it's easier for the mind to sort of flip out of that left to right mindset. So here I'm just going to order by the gate as well, and I'm going to click the sort axis to be ascending, and now we have it this way. So now we can see gates A through F. If you just want to sort by the largest quantity, that's fine too, right? You can always sort by the quantity. It'll just be out of sequence here. So it's very obvious that B and D have the same number of entries. Those are the most common. It means F and E aren't really being used, or this person just had the sort of luck or coincidence that they kept going to B and D. So if I don't want to hover over these just to see their ride, the number, and I don't want these like axes, for example, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this x-axis to number of rides, like that. There's the gate. I'm going to go to the formatter, and I'm going to turn on data labels, and then let's turn on ribbons as well. Nah, let's not. But here, now we can see the actual number without having to hover over it. So that means I'm going to go ahead and remove the title and the values from the x-axis. So now it's just a little bit cleaner. And we have a number of rides by gate. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller as well. So I'll go to my formatter, go to my callout value, make that, I don't know, 25, 26, even numbers. And then I'll do my category label as a 10. So now we have a little bit of a smaller space here that we can work with. And then like these can be like highlights, and I like putting the highlights at the top left for my report consumers. So like one of the highlights would be how many rides was this person the Rebel Spy? And they gave us that information right here, Rebel Spy no and yes. So we're gonna add a filter to this visual that says Rebel Spy yes no equals yes, like that. So here I can change it to number times Rebel Spy. That's not how you spell rebel, so I'm going to correct that really quick. So interesting things, right? Like, oh, hey, they were the Rebel Spy 3 times out of the 36. What other stuff would be interesting here? Average posted wait time, which was one of the questions that they asked us, right? That would be something cool. I'm going to go ahead and just keep copying this card over and over because I don't want to keep formatting the cards over and over. So here, instead of unique rides, I'm actually going to say posted wait. I'm going to drag that in, and instead of the sum, I'm just going to say average. So average posted wait time is 10.91 minutes. I'm just going to call this AVG posted wait in minutes, like that. And so I have a few things here. Maybe you'll have 6 instead of 3. That's absolutely fine. Again, this is just showing start to finish basics here. So not only do I want by gate, but I also want by terminal. So I'm going to switch this over to terminal, like that. Same exact graphic, right? Now I have the terminal right next to it. And I also, not just by terminal, but I can also have it by final destination. And now I'm sort of like repeating the same exact thing. Maybe unnecessarily. So I'm just going to drag these over here just to make some room. But the reality is I'm sort of repeating this stuff unnecessarily. What if there was a way where I could use the same exact graphic, but with saving real estate by just having a toggle? Well, it turns out there is a way that you can do that. And that way is using field parameters. Now I have a full-blown video on how to use field parameters or things like dynamic measures or selected measure. That's on my YouTube channel. You are free to check that video out about field parameters. Highly recommend it because it saves you a lot of time. But we're going to go ahead and just do it very quickly right now. So I'm going to go ahead and insert or go to modeling, sorry, and say new parameter, fields parameter. And I'm just going to call this p_analyze by. And I'm implying that this is the user will get to choose what they want to analyze by. So what are the fields that we want to choose here? Well, we're going to use our sheet 1 because that's the CSV. We're going to say we want to do it by terminal. Actually, we can do it by gate, by terminal, by primary destination, and final destination. I would say those are the ones that we want to do it by. The gate is where they entered the ship. The primary destination, the terminal is, I think, where they started from, what terminal they started from. The primary destination is where they were supposed to go to, and then the final destination is where they got sort of redirected to, because if you know about Star Tours, you start off, as a simple journey that you're going to go. Usually it's like the moon of Endor or something like that. And then you get redirected somewhere because there's a battle happening. Did I give away? I mean, that ride's been there for 40 years now. So I hope I didn't give anything away. But yeah. Let's go to create. So as you can see, it created a fields parameter. It's right here. Here's the logic for it. And it created a slicer. So one of the first things I want to do is just switch this gate terminal primary destination. I want to add a space to it so it'll show up nice and neat here. And now we have our field. We have our field parameter. And that means we can dynamically switch these graphics. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete these other two. And we're just going to use this one. Now, be ready to be amazed. It says gate now, and when I switch it to terminal, it does nothing. What about primary destination? That doesn't work either. And final destination, that doesn't work either. So the reason it doesn't work is because not only do you have to create this field parameter, but you also have to use it in the graphic that you want to manipulate. So if I click on number of rides by gate, I can actually remove the gate here in the y-axis and instead add my p_analyze by field here. So I'm going to replace that right on here. Actually, we'll remove the gate first and then put p_analyze by, and you can see that it's number of rides by final destination. Now, what happens when I click primary destination? Now it switches to primary destination, switches to terminal, and switches to gate. So this makes it a lot easier for you to save real estate, for you to have the same exact graphic, which you're trying to represent it the same exact way anyway. Just have it be taking up one block of space instead of multiple. Now Power BI has multiple pages, and you can do a page for final destination, a page for gates, a page for terminals, etc. But if you just want to show one concise visual that lets you switch from most, this is the one I would recommend using. just fields parameters. And the cool thing is this one toggle doesn't have to be for this one visual. If I wanted to, I could analyze the same thing, like wait time by gate, wait time by terminal, right? If I want to do a scatter plot, for example, does the scatter plot let me? No. Maybe, let's see. Yeah. Let's do, like, does the wait time affect the gate that you end up going with? I don't know. But this is number of rides, right? I copied number of rides. Now, instead of number of rides, what if I want to analyze posted wait time? So I'm going to put that in the y-axis instead. Instead of the sum, I'm just going to say average posted wait time. So now you can see that the primary destination is still here. But if I go to the gate, both of the visuals switch to be gates. So if I, let's do, ooh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. What happens when I go to like terminal here? Number of rides, primary destination. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to gate. And then here you can see average of posted wait time. I'm just going to say average posted wait time in minutes, like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be okay. So I'm just going to switch over to terminal, and now it says average posted wait time by terminal. The titles are dynamic, and you can actually make them permanent if you wish. I'm just not going to. Now, here's the issue, is that this is sort of unsightly here, right? It's sort of in the way. So how would we do something a little bit nicer, a little bit better? Well, I would probably use a slicer, either a button slicer or the new button slicer. You can use the new button slicer, which is this one down here, or you can use the simple one. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the simple slicer, which is the old school one, and they'll probably deprecate it or use it, just stop including it. But I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, just because it's a little bit simpler to get going right off the bat. So I'm just going to put it right on the top here, and then I'm going to add the field I'm going to add is actually p analyze by. And as you can see, sort of takes the same shape as here, but I'm going to go to slicer settings, and instead of vertical list, it's going to be tiles. And the selection, I'm not going to allow multi-select, it's only single select. So then I'm going to delete this one, and now you can see all of these up here. So it's not as unsightly. You can make these rounded corners if you so desire. So can I? Size and style. I don't remember where it is. Somewhere around here. Slicer header. No. Or maybe you can't do on these. I just did this like 2 days ago, but I think I remember using the button slicer instead. This one's pretty primitive now. Like, it doesn't let you do a lot of customization. That's why the new button slicer is sort of existing now. I want to say, let me see if I can find it. Nope, that's the slicer header. No, I think it's just like you can't change the background on these, or at least not easily. You can't change the rectangular side. You can change the border and the background. Oh, there we go. Slight changes that you can do to these. But again, just to show the functionality, this is what I would use. If you want to make it actually look nice, highly recommend the new button slicer instead. So we can switch. Again, both of these will switch now from gate to terminal to primary destination to final destination. And then the one other thing that I wanted to show here before we get into my sort of more interesting visual, let's go ahead and just change the titles of these so that they're a little bit smaller. I think they're just way too big. Maybe 12. Yeah, something like that. Is maybe like a overtime thing. So rides over time. If you look, this person actually had an analysis of rides over time, posted wait time over the time of day. So that's a really interesting one. And I want to see if I can represent that in any way. So this was probably done using the time entered, I'm thinking. So we'll try that. Let's see if we can build a line chart. The x-axis will be time entered, and we will do, let's see if we can do that, posted wait in minutes as the y-axis. Does it let us? Yeah. Yeah, and does it look roughly the same? Yeah, it sure does. So we were able to match that graphic, which is really nice. Now, what I'm going to do is remove the grids here because they're kind of ugly. So I'll remove the, where are they? The grid lines. Remove the horizontal ones, remove the vertical ones, and now we have this. Let's do a shaded graph instead. And then we'll do posted wait time in minutes by, we'll say time entered. We'll leave it as time entered. And then we'll change the title to be 12 as well. So now we have sort of a graphic of how things went. And if you want, you can actually remove this as well. If you want to have like a category style. So if I want my x-axis to be categorical, I can see it over time like this, but I really just don't want that. Technically, I could do like time of day by hour or by every 30 minutes, something like that. But I'd rather have it be continuous so it looks like one graphic. So like if you wanted to do that, I think you'd be able to do like time entered, right click on it, and then do a new group. Let's see if I can do time entered hours. And it's a bin. The bin size would be 1 hour. So I'm going to hit OK. And let's see if it works. So instead of the exact posted wait time, so you see like 10:10, 10:46, 10:33, I'm actually going to put this time entered in hours bucket over the top of this. Oh, that's the y-axis. Okay, over the top of this one in the x-axis, and still see if I can switch it to categorical or continuous. Oh, because this is, when you convert it to hours, it makes it seem like it's going to be $18.99, like the first date available. So technically that doesn't work, but I'm sure you could like compress this into minutes using DAX or something. I'm not going to bother with that, but that is one of the ways that you could sort of compress the data to be hourly or something. Here, I think it still gets the message across on how long the wait times were throughout the course of the day. As you can see, the peak is right here at 11:30 or so, 35 minutes of wait time. So that's pretty interesting as well. Let's expand this a little bit, and I think we're okay as far as like the initial graphics. Maybe we can, or sorry, initial visuals. Maybe we can lower this a little bit, all of it, and leave some room for like a title. I'm gonna go with like something simple and silly. Like I'm gonna insert a shape that's a rectangle like this across the top. I'll copy it and paste it and do another one across the side like that. No borders for either one of them, so I'll remove the borders in the shape style border so that they sort of blend into each other like that. And then maybe something like a triangle, a right triangle like this, which I can flip towards the bottom. So let's see, can I rotate this one? Yeah, rotation, what is it, 90? Nope. 180 maybe? Nope. 270? I never know which one it is. Okay, yeah, if I do this at 270 and I sort of grow it out, maybe I'll have a design like this. This looks really ugly. And then I'll go to where is it? Oh, view the selection pane. Oh, which I already have enabled. And I just want to make sure all my visualizations are below. So I'll put all my shapes at the very bottom. And if we want to give this one a space theme of some sort, then we would probably want to do something black or gray instead of this blue, which we can absolutely do. I'm going to choose like a really light blue. Let me see if I can do that. Instead of build, I'll go to format. If you don't know this about me, I am color deficient, which just means that I can't see different shades of colors very easily. So colors is something that I usually entrust to either my coworkers or I'll go to sites like coolers.com or Adobe Color Wheel. Adobe Color Wheel is also a really good one that I trust to get information about my colors. So I'm gonna say, where's my shape style? Turn off my border. I'll go up here, turn off my border. Nope, that's my fill. Oh, border's already off. And then this one, turn off my border as well. So here's where I would start adding some like white shapes or something to sort of offset and maybe like shadow. So the thing is, like, when you start getting into this, you'll be here for an hour just going over shapes and different things to add. So I try to not do this too often, especially during these streams, because then I'll just be here for like 3 years, and I don't want to do that. So we'll just add a little bit of a shadow. We'll go to 10 rounded corners and see if that works a little bit, and then we'll copy this down here as well. Oh, okay, it never copied. There we go. Now we copied it. We'll put these two shapes right above the triangles and fills like this. And now we sort of have something. Let me see if I can make this smaller and remove that. Okay, we'll remove the backgrounds from all of these. So size and style, we'll take the background out. And this table, take the background out. So now we have sort of something additional. Oh, this guy right here doesn't need a border. As you can probably tell, this starts to become sort of all-consuming, which is why I try to avoid it as much as possible. So we have sort of something going on here. I will go ahead and stop with the visuals now that we have a concept of something working. There we go, like that. Sure. Oh man, see, even though I'm not very good at colors, I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I like keep trying to enhance something, even if it's taking up a lot of my time. Okay, so what we're gonna do is focus on the visual that I really wanted to show you, which is a Sankey. Now, if you're familiar with Sankeys, they basically show the flow of data. So sometimes you'll see on Reddit or something, you'll see like some budgets, and usually like, oh, I made this much money and then I lost it here, or I spent it here. So those are usually the ones that we end up going with. Steve says, by the way, espero que estés bien, estoy tomando examen de prueba. Nice. ¿De cuál prueba? Si se puede saber, si no, no problem, but that's buena suerte. Éxito, mucho éxito. Okay, so I'm going to go to datasets here, go to more options, and I'm going to go to my datasets and star tours. And then I'll say just, this is a star tours analysis. I think my music cut off. Epidemic sound, what's going on? Maybe I just ran out of songs in my playlist. I don't think I would, but let's find out. Is it stopped? Yeah, it stopped. Okay. Now we're back. Super. Okay, so we have this, and again, the Sankey visual is just meant to show flows, but it has to be very specific. Like the data set that you capture for it has to be very specific. So we have to start with the gate, then the terminal, then the primary destination, and the final destination. Gate, terminal, primary, final. That's how we have to order it. And it's going to be very interesting because the gate and the terminal, or we can just do like terminal, primary, and final, but I want to see if we can do it for everything. But it almost has to be like a custom data set, because the Sankey visual can only take 2 columns, the origin and the destination. So let's take a look at it really quick to see how it works, and then maybe we'll just build a data set out as we go. Let's see how we can do this. Okay, so I'm just going to name this like a summary to show our initial page. And then I'm just going to open up a brand new page. Technically, I can like copy it. So if I want to delete this, I can just do a duplicate. And we'll call this ride flow. And then we can just remove a bunch of these like this. And just maybe leave one of these squares. And expand it all the way down, because our sand key is going to take up quite a bit of space here. Okay, so now to add the sand key, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our visuals, wherever the heck that is. I hate the way Power BI does this now. We're going to click on these ellipses and say get more visuals, and then we're just going to search for sand key. Then we'll use the Sankey chart from Microsoft. The other ones I'm sure are really good. This is the only one that I know to be free, and I know how to use it because it's kind of complex at times. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it. If you ever want to, you can download a sample as you saw there, and you can actually get like an already pre-built data set so you can see sort of how it flows. They have a really good tutorial on how to use it. So now you'll see that it shows up down here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add it. So basically what it needs is a source, a destination, and how many units. So if our source was just the terminal and then final destination, so your source is where you came from, your destination is where you went to, source, final destination, and then the weight would be what? The number of trips or the number of unique rides. So this is a ride number. Right click on here and say count distinct, and now you can see that your terminal was Han Solo and your final destination was Coruscant, Naboo, Crate, Exegol, I don't know how to pronounce these, and the Death Star. So what if though, I mean this is good on its own, right? You can see the terminal and then you can see the destination. If you wanted to switch this, you could also see primary destination from the terminal to the primary destination, or even primary destination to final destination, like that. That's cool too. But what if I wanted to capture everything from the gate through the terminal, through the primary destination, and all the way to the final destination? What if I wanted to do that instead? What is going on with YouTube or this right here? I think I'm done with my music, that's why. But it's 4 hours. Have I been streaming for 4 hours? No, 2.5 or 2:45. What's going on? What's the name of the service called? Epidemic Sound. I don't know what's going on with Epidemic Sound, but here we are. Anyway, what if I wanted to do that, right? This is actually already pretty cool, and technically speaking, I could maybe do like field parameters to decide these. Like where's your source and where's your destination? I think that would probably be easy, but I'm not going to try that because then it'll take me an hour to actually try it, right? I don't know. I don't even know if this works off of field parameters. Let's see. Let's just see. Yeah, primary destination doesn't work. Gate does. Okay, it kind of works. It kind of works. We got it. Man. Okay, we'll do this really quick, and then we'll get to what I actually wanted to do. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, so here's the destination. Yeah. Okay, so there's the destinations, and I'm gonna. Dang it! I shouldn't have signed myself up for this, but we're actually gonna duplicate this p analyzed by. We're going to duplicate it, and I'd rather just build it again instead of trying to duplicate the field or the query, just because I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to actually execute that if I duplicate it. So I'm just going to build a new fields parameter called fields, and then here I'm just going to say p origin. I'll call it p origin. I'll go to star tour sheet 1, which is where I went, and it's going to be gates, terminal, primary destination, and final destination. Where is final destination? Right here. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to get rid of this slicer here, and I'm actually going to copy the slicer that we already have and made. Ooh, my computer's like super slow right now. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to call this source, origin. So they both say the same thing right now, which is not good. So what I actually need to do is switch this slicer here on the left side to be origin and not the destination. So I'm going to remove this and put p origin in here instead. And as you can see, we now have them. I'm going to grab the formatting from the one that exists and put it here. Ooh, can I do that? Why can't I? Okay. Grab this, format paint, go over here. Okay, I guess it just doesn't let me for some weird reason. I'm going to go to slicer settings and make sure my selection is single select. I'm going to, why is it not? Primary destination is like, oh, that's why. It needs a space. It needs a space. Okay, I'm going to go to P origin and I'm going to put a space here and a space here, hit enter, and now we should be okay. There we go. Okay, so if you just wanted to analyze the origin to the destination, so we'll call this origin here, you would be able to do that, it seems, as long as here in the source, you can put p analyzed by, which is the primary destination, and in the destination, no, p analyzed by is the destination, and then the origin is p origin. Can we do that? Okay. From the gate to the terminal, we have that. So if you want to know rides from the gate to the terminal, let's fix this weight number, unique number of rides. There we go. You want to have it dynamic this way, that's fine too. So, oh, time entered. Why is time entered part of this? I never asked for time entered to be a part of it, did I? Why did I have time entered here? It should be terminal. Maybe I just chose it wrong. There it is, terminal. Maybe that's why I was like a little bit confused. All right, let's try this again. From the gate to the terminal, there it is. If I want from the primary destination to the terminal, there it is. But really, that's not flow. That's actually going back. Primary destination to final destination, we have that. So this is a dynamic way of doing that, and that's absolutely fine. The way I want to do it is just in one graphic, the full flow. So this is sort of halfway done. We'll call this ride flow V1. Now, I actually want to duplicate this and do this again for ride flow V2, because I think we should be able to show the full flow. So what I'm going to do is actually delete these. This will error out, which is absolutely fine with me. And what I actually want to do is sort of build an entirely new data set that has the data that we need. So it's just the way it works. We have to do this way, just because I'm sure you'd be able to do it within like Power BI itself and DAX, but I actually want to do it in possibly SQL Server and then export it out to, or should I just build it in Excel? Decisions. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the file. Basically, what I want to do is build something like this. I want to say origin, destination, and number of rides, like that. And each origin and destination, let me see if I can just create a new view, move document, move to other view, like this. Okay, so each one, I would say, needs to be the gate, which in this one is C, to the terminal. So it would be C to Kylo Ren, and then from the terminal to the primary destination. This makes a lot more sense in Excel, so let's do it in Excel. Let's try this in Excel. This is the Excel one. So I'm just going to open this with Excel, and let's see if we can actually have it be okay. Possible data loss, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, always Excel. Thank you for that warning. Okay, so again, we're going to be origin, destination, and rides. Number of rides. The reality is each one of these is going to be 1, or we can summarize it. This would be way easier in SQL Server, but I'm just going to go ahead and appease, I don't know, my own curiosity, I guess. So we'll go from the gate to the terminal, which I can actually do this all the way down, right? Yeah. Okay. If I go from gate like this to the terminal like this, then that matches. And all these are just going to be 1. But then I can also say, okay, from the terminal, because it has to pick up at the very next one. So from the terminal to primary destination is 2, like this. And then from primary destination, because they have to overlap, from primary destination to final destination, like this. This is how you would build a data set for a Sankey visual. And then each one of these is just going to be 1. 1, 1. Copy this value all the way down like this. And I'm just going to take this data set and copy it. And let's see if a trick that I know about Power BI will work. I don't know if it will, but it might. Let's find out. If I go to Power BI and then I go over to just editing my data, so transform data and transform, I'll get my Power Query editor, and I think I can say enter data. Oh, I hope this works. Plus, and then paste, and there it is. So I was able to paste my data just as text from Excel. So I'm just going to rename this origin. I'm going to rename this destination. And this is number of rides. And obviously number of rides is just going to be a static value of 1. Okay, and then I could just delete this first row like this. And I'll say Sankey origin destination. Okay, let's see if this even works, because I could be just completely wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this will work. Okay, so when I have Sankey origin destination here as a new data set, what I'm going to do is use my Sankey visual that I already had. And if you don't have one already, you can just go ahead and download it from the App Store, just like we did about 10 minutes ago. If you're late, you're late. You can rewatch it. Don't worry about it. It's not that hard. Okay, so again, I have a fresh Sankey chart. I'm going to choose my origin, which is the source, my destination right here, and then the number of rides is the weight, like that. And there we go. Ooh, but why is it only 3 levels? Isn't it supposed to be 4? I think it's supposed to be 4 levels deep. Did I miss one? I went from origin to destination, from the terminal, from gate to terminal, and then from Kylo Ren to Jakku, which is the primary destination, and then from Jakku, somewhere around here, to, oh, why did I put the same value? I think I messed up somewhere. I think the final destination is not what I thought it was going to be. It's this, like that. Copy. Now, where's the last one? Jakku. Oh, God, this is going to be rough. Man, I'm gonna have to rebuild this lower one. I don't know if you saw what I just did, but it looks like I have the second to last and the last columns, I have them exactly the same, which is not good at all. Oh, I think I might be able to fix this by just doing this and then this. Like, am I getting the right numbers? No, one up, like that. Okay, so I copy this or just cut it, and then I paste it right here. This is my actual data set that I want. So now that it's fixed, I'm gonna copy it one more time. I'm gonna go back to Power BI, and I'm going to right click on this, edit the query. That takes me back to the Power BI editor. I'm gonna go up to the sources up here, and here I'm just gonna see if I can delete everything. Delete, yeah, delete all the way down. Technically I didn't have to do that, but okay. So if I just go here and paste again, okay, now I can delete this one column, hit OK, and OK again, and it should fix itself. Yes. Okay, so the person asked, hey, can you analyze any trends? And I think with this, it makes it a lot easier to, well, you know, once we fix sort of some of the ordering, I guess, if you really wanted to, you'd be able to sort of fix, or you'd be able to analyze what happened the most. For example, why is it's supposed to be four nodes here, but some of the stuff went like straight from Darth Vader to Tatooine. It's supposed to be 4 nodes. I guess they all are, but maybe it just doesn't have the space to do this all in. Yeah, I'm thinking that's what it is. There's just not enough space to represent everything. Let me see if I can sort of like make the nodes smaller. Nope. Okay, that width is there. The links. Nope, can't do anything with the link. Data link labels. Those are interesting, but I'm not going to do that. Scale settings, maybe? Or cycles displaying. Duplicate optimized. I don't think this does anything. And ignore weight. Maybe if I just don't add a weight. Maybe that adds a little bit better. But I think the weight is necessary. This weight is actually necessary because it's the number of rides. And it could have been repeated. So I think this does help us say, okay, well, we started in gate E, and from gate E we went to Kylo Ren. From Kylo Ren we went to Kef Bir. I don't know how to pronounce any of this stuff. From Kef Bir we went to Exegol. See, that's 3 already, and then from Exegol straight to Naboo. So yeah, that is technically 4. So I think this whole path thing, even though it may be confusing, once you really put yourself into the mindset of, okay, these ships, let's pretend it was a fleet of ships, a fleet of Star Tour ships all coming together. These are the paths that they took. I think it does really make sense after you sort of think about it. Let me see if I can rename this. For some reason I can't seem to rename it. Something is weird here. Oh, yeah. Can I right click? Can I click on this? I can't seem to do anything as far as like renaming stuff, which is very strange. I think that what would help is just recreating the whole thing all over again. I know that sounds really silly, but I think it's necessary. So let's try it again. Sources, origin. And now it just doesn't let me do anything. Destination. Weight is number of rides. Yep, now I can't do anything at all. So let's try origin. Wow. Now I can't do anything, which means my Power BI must be sort of messed up or something. So I'm going to keep the original version so we don't lose it, all of our work. So this just ends up being a little bit easier to see. and I really like this format a lot more than this format, even though this, maybe that's all you want to know, right? Is where from the gate to the final destination, what happened. And now why is this showing 3? Oh, this is really weird. Terminal to final destination. Okay, that's fine. This is okay. This is not okay. This is really strange, but I'm gonna keep it because it must mean something. Why is everything going to Coruscant though? Is it because like I have something else filtered here? Ah, this is really weird. I don't know. Maybe you can fix this, because I'm sort of done talking. I think we're to the point where I've babbled enough. So, and I'm actually, I don't know if I'm going to Epcot today or Hollywood Studios, but I might ride this and maybe contribute my own stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and just publish this. Let me just go ahead and give it a cheeky title, like Star Tours Ride Experience Analysis. And again, this isn't anything fancy. This data set doesn't tell a story, and I know that's like so many people these days are like this whole, your dashboard's not good unless it tells a story. And it's like, look, it's important to tell a story, but sometimes the story you end up conveying isn't the story that the folks wanted to see or hear or were interested. Sometimes it's okay to just build a directory of things and let your users, let your stakeholders build the story on their own. All you have to worry about is making sure your data is accurate. But I feel there's so much emphasis right now on like the whole storytelling thing that it sort of takes away from the main goal, which is to make data more accessible. That's what Power BI is. That's the overall goal, is making data more accessible, more readable, digestible to your stakeholders. Because if not, then why don't they just use Excel? They're really good at Excel. But for me, my goal for my organization is to take the stakeholders' vision, take their needs, and make it into a digestible platform or digestible experience for them. So it's okay to not have a full and complete story with every single dashboard you list. Listings, directories, that sort of stuff is still okay. And again, I just feel like it's too many people these days just saying it needs to tell a story or it's just not good at all. That has not been my experience over the last 15 years of working with data. Sometimes they just want to see the data and build their own story. I know that sounds very get off my lawn kind of, attitude, but I feel like people sometimes put too much focus into the story itself instead of letting your stakeholders build it. I'm repeating the same thing again and again, aren't I? I'm gonna go ahead and stop and just import one of my logos in here. And then let's build a credits page really quick as well, so that we can give credit to the original creator of the data. Let's get my logo in here. There we go. Make that smaller, like this. Let's change the font at least to, I don't know fonts, man. 32, sure. Okay, so let's bring this down slightly, and we're just gonna copy this and just paste it everywhere here. Paste, paste. And then let's build a navigation pane. So we're just gonna do insert, buttons, navigator, and page navigator. And we're gonna push this off to the side. Make it smaller, like this. Make it smaller like that. Maybe make some rounded buttons, because I think this one you can do rounded corners in the rectangle. There it is. Yeah. No border, I think would be better as well. Style, no border. And then the fill, I think if it's selected, it should be, what color? Like a dark blue, like this, maybe. No, that looks horrible. Let's just leave it like a gray, like that or something. I don't know. Sure. So we're in the summary page now. I'm going to right click and paste this over here to this one and this one. And let's build one more page called credits. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I'm actually just going to duplicate it from our last one. Duplicate here, say credits, get rid of this Sankey visual. Somehow Power BI is sort of resisting my attempts at doing anything productive. There it is. Okay, and then I'm going to insert the text box. And I'm going to say created by SQL Dev DBA, live on Twitch and YouTube. Let's just add my channels. First my link tree, then my Twitch, and then my YouTube. And then credit, data source credit is going to be right here. And their YouTube channel as well. And YouTube, where is YouTube? Let me go ahead and snooze ads. Oh, there's an ad break in progress. I wasn't paying enough attention to my chat, it seems, because my teleprompter was frozen. Classic. Okay, well, you have suffered through ads, or you're currently suffering through ads. So hopefully this will be the last one, because I think we're getting ready to head out. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to Power BI. I'm gonna say this was the data source. So there's Sam's channel on YouTube. And we can go over here. Let's just make sure things sort of flow. Okay, there's the ride flow 2. I want to say I want to like do slicers off to the left of like number of rides and stuff like that, but it's really not super necessary right now. Again, I'll probably work on this a little bit more later, but I just wanted to show sort of like a full start to finish. We found this data set on Google Sheets, we downloaded it over to a CSV, we imported it into SQL Server, and then we finally displayed the data using Power BI. You can do so using Tableau if you want, Crystal reports, which again, you shouldn't use Crystal reports, but if you do, you can absolutely use Crystal reports for it too. All right, let's go ahead and publish this thing and get it out over to you, out to the data source creator as well. Thank you very much again to the creator of this for making this data that we could use in our stream. So for some reason it starts off in this page when it should actually start off in this page, even though I deployed it from this page. That's weird, but okay. Now we're just going to go ahead and hit file, embed, publish to web, hit continue, publish, and we have a report. If you're in Twitch chat, put it in the chat. If you're on YouTube chat, just put it in the chat as well. So you should be able to open this from your phone, from your iPad, from your PC, all that stuff. If you're in the chat, and you can let me know if you were able to open it, I would greatly appreciate it. It's never not worked, but today could be that day. So if anyone's out there and you want to let me know that it worked, feel free to, and I will be very thankful. Okay, so again, we have our report published out. Now it would be a matter of sharing it with the creator, letting him sort of see if they're misidentifying anything, see if I'm misinterpreting anything, and then usually there would be a back and forth of enhancements, of a version 2, of more data coming in, that sort of thing. That's how the process sort of works. So I'm gonna head out, probably heading over to Hollywood Studios, although we went there last weekend, so it's probably Epcot today or maybe Animal Kingdom. But this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate everyone who was around. Check out my YouTube channel because I'm uploading now videos a lot more frequently. And again, I really think that my latest video will be super helpful to a lot of you who are just starting in this data space. It's how to practice SQL without downloading anything. No downloads, no installs. You just get into the website, sometimes create an account, and you just go. I really think for those who are exploring SQL and really seeing if it's even for them, it'll be really beneficial. But I'm hoping it helps you all. Again, all these scripts, all the files are going to be available on my Google Drive as soon as I upload everything. So you'll be able to recreate this if you're watching this later on Twitch or on YouTube. You should be able to recreate this. But thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Steve-O for being here. Thank you to Tim Abai as well. A couple other people hanging out earlier today, so I appreciate you all as well. Morse314 was here first thing, so thank you, Morse314. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.